Chapter 255. Mo Xiaobai was stunned as he looked at Yuan Su in the distance. Your strongest attack? The corner of his lips curled up into a smile. Let me see just how strong your strongest attack is. Yuan Su looked at Mo Xiaobai, took a deep breath, and exhaled slowly. Wisps of pale golden mist seeped out from the corner of his mouth. Lightning flashed on the pale, golden desolate runes all over his body. As you wish. His voice sounded both real and illusory at the same time. At the same time, a pair of faintly discernible pale golden eyes slowly appeared behind him. The pale golden eyes were emotionless and looked extremely majestic. A strange aura spread out from Yuan Su's body. Seeing this, the wilderness god priest, Ho Bai, and the rest of the desolate people stood up. Their eyes widened in shock. The wilderness god's will? Yuan Su is favored by the wilderness god? Good. God bless the people of the desolate land. The desolate people's faces were filled with excitement. At this moment, the azure blue experts looked at each other in dismay. The wilderness god's will? What was that? However, at this moment, when they saw the faint golden eyes behind Yuan Su, they were also a little shocked. It seemed like a power that did not belong to a mortal. Mo Xiaobai looked at the pale golden eyes and frowned slightly. After the golden eyes appeared, Yuan Su's aura skyrocketed. The strong threat made Mo Xiaobai's hair stand on end. His force was running wildly. Zhao Wu incantation, holy light power, blood power, Akatsuki armor's crimson moon runes, all kinds of explosive moves were used continuously. Flames rose from Mo Xiaobai's body as a violent power surged. Their auras were on par with each other and collided in the air. Boom, boom, boom. The collision of their auras shook the arena and formed a storm that surged in all directions. Nearby, the weaker martial body fundamentalists were forced to retreat under the storm. Yuan Su's expression was solemn as faint golden lightning flashed in his eyes. He stomped on the ground and soared into the air, clenching the saber in his hands. Epic level origin skill, desolation technique. Epic origin skill, great desolate slash. Chi. A faint golden blade light that was hundreds of meters long descended from the sky, slashing towards Mo Xiaobai. An incomparably sharp and powerful aura surged. Before the blade aura even reached his body, Mo Xiaobai felt pain all over his body. So powerful. Mo Xiaobai felt a strong pressure pressing down on him, causing his legs to sink slightly. Mo Xiaobai's eyes flashed with a sharp light as he stomped on the ground. The sword formation of the void appeared beneath Mo Xiaobai's feet. Clang, clang, clang. Silver-white sword radiance shot out of the sword formation and condensed into a sword dragon in the air. At the same time, Mo Xiaobai swung his sword with his right hand and punched with his left. Heavenly Wasteland Annihilation slash. Great Desolate Dragon Fist. Chi. Roar. The three attacks met the golden saber light one after another. In the end, they collided. Boom! There was a loud explosion. Under the impact of such a violent force, the arena, which was already riddled with holes, completely shattered at this moment. Sword radiance, saber radiance, and fist energy swept in all directions. The expressions of the many experts on the high platform changed when they saw the devastating aftershocks. Block the aftershocks. Be careful not to hurt others. Lu Feiyu hurriedly said. Everyone rushed out to block the aftershocks. The faces of the people in the waiting area twitched when they saw the terrifying collision between the two. These two monsters. Let's go help. They came to the front of the crowd and waved their hands to block the aftershocks. Hiss! Even the aftershocks are so strong. Mu Lin's expression changed when he blocked a sword radiance. I wonder how strong the aftershocks are at the epicenter of the collision. Everyone looked in the direction of the arena with flickering eyes. Back off, back off. Be careful, don't get caught in the aftershocks. Is this really a battle between level 4 experts? Are you kidding me? The other spectators kept retreating. Boom, boom, boom. The collision continued, and the rumbling continued. After more than 10 breaths, the rumbling stopped. The aftershocks in the distance slowly subsided, and the debris and dust began to dissipate. Did it stop? Who won? The crowd, who had been in a mess, looked up at the arena. Their eyes were full of curiosity. Whoosh! A gust of wind blew, blowing away the dust and revealing the area of the battle. Everyone held their breaths and looked over with wide eyes. The arena had disappeared, and there were crisscrossing saber and sword marks on the ground, as well as deep pits of different sizes. Debris was everywhere. At this moment, Mo Xiaobai and Yuan Su were facing each other, frozen on the spot. Both of their bodies were covered with wounds of various sizes, and blood kept pouring out of them. Some of the wounds were so deep that their bones could be seen. It was a tragic scene. Cough! At this moment, Mo Xiaobai coughed and coughed up a mouthful of blood. At the same time, the wounds on his body began to wriggle and heal quickly. Whether it was the breath of life or the blood origin battle body, they were top-notch in terms of physical recovery. This was especially true for the blood origin battle body. Mo Xiaobai looked up at Yuan Su, who wasn't too far away. It had to be said that Yuan Su was truly powerful. If he hadn't used the blood origin battle body to affect Yuan Su's blood flow and weaken his attack slightly, he would probably have had to use the luck line battle mode. However, this guy was really evil. Didn't he say he would only use one attack? This guy had clearly used 2 origin skills. Mo Xiaobai couldn't help but curse. In the distance, Yuan Su leaned on his blade, his face pale and his aura weak. After using 2 epic origin skills in a row, even he had used up all of his origin power. Moreover, he didn't know what Mo Xiaobai had done in the last attack, but his blood had fluctuated violently. He had even suffered a backlash. At this point, even recovering was difficult. When he thought of this, he raised his head with difficulty and glanced at Mo Xiaobai. When he saw Mo Xiaobai's rapidly recovering injuries and the extremely powerful origin power fluctuations, he felt a chill run down his spine. The corner of Yuan Su's mouth twitched. Mother asterisk her, what kind of monster was this guy? What a freak. F asterisk CK. After he cursed, his vision turned black and his body fell heavily to the ground. When they saw Yuan Su fall to the ground, the expressions of Ho Bai and the other desolate experts changed. Yuan Su. Ho Bai appeared in front of Yuan Su. When he sensed that Yuan Su was only seriously injured and unconscious, he let out a sigh of relief. Then he glanced at Mo Xiaobai, whose injuries had mostly recovered, and the corner of his mouth twitched. What kind of monster was this guy? What a freak. He cursed in his heart, but a smile appeared on his face, and he said loudly, Mo Xiaobai took first place in the competition this time. Chapter 256. I didn't expect Mo Xiaobai to win. Yeah, he's only at level 2 with 4 orifices, right? I feel like he's even stronger than those with 5 orifices. That's terrifying. I didn't expect Akatsuki to have such a genius. He's too strong. Yeah, the spectators whispered to each other. This is a battle worthy of commemoration. Believe me, God will be happy to see your battle. Hobai smiled. Wait a moment. The top 10 can go to the desolate God Palace to receive their inheritance. You should go and rest first. Mo Xiaobai nodded. Okay. Hobai left with the unconscious Yuan Su. He was probably going to treat him. Mo Xiaobai also returned to the waiting area. Xiaobai, you're really something. Not bad. Even Yuan Su isn't your match. Mu Sunlin was excited and patted Mo Xiaobai's shoulder happily. Yin Shui smiled and looked at Mo Xiaobai without saying a word. Good job, Murphy brothers. Yin Long said with a smile. Our Azure Nation is still stronger than the desolate dwellers. Ha ha. Little brother Mo, you're really strong. Come, let's exchange communication marks. If you have any problems in the future, you can look for the Gong Sun family. Of course, you can also join the Gong Sun family. Gong Sun Yi winked at Mo Xiaobai. Gong Sun Shi blushed and glared at Gong Sun Yi awkwardly. However, Gong Sun Yi's words made the others come back to their senses. Gong Sun Yi is right. Brother Xiaobai, you haven't joined any major forces, right? Welcome to the Gong family. The Sure family welcomes you too. With your talent and combat strength, The family's resources will definitely be given to you in the future. Same for the Bai family. The geniuses from the major families through olive branches to Mo Xiao Bai. With their talent and strength, they would definitely be part of the core circle of their families in the future. Bringing super geniuses to the family would only bring them benefits and no harm. Not only for themselves, but for a genius like Mo Xiao Bai. Even for the entire family, it was beneficial. The geniuses of the large family clans were all extremely enthusiastic. Mo Xiao Bai didn't refuse and added everyone's communication imprints. However, while exchanging communication marks with Gong Sun Shi and Gong Sun, Mo Xiao Bai clearly felt a cold gaze coming from behind him. Mo Xiao Bai felt his scalp go numb and his heart turn cold. Cough! He kept cursing in his heart. He didn't add these two women because of their beauty. He couldn't help but grumble in his heart. Many people had used up a lot of energy in this competition, and some were even injured. After chatting for a while, everyone began to recover. This was especially true for those who had made it into the top 10 this time. At this moment, they were doing their best to recover. If it affected the inheritance, that would be terrible. Among those who entered the top 10, 4 of them were Aragami's apostles, while the other 6 were elites from Azure. Other than Mo Xiao Bai, Azure also had Gong Jin, Yin Jing, Gong Sun Shi, Shi Zhe, and Mu Liu Shuang. This was because the Bai family's geniuses who had darkness affinity were at a disadvantage in the arena. The Bai family's members were better at silent assassinations. In the arena, as long as there was an origin skill with a large area of effect, it would be easy to force the assassin out of hiding. This was too disadvantageous for the Bai family. Everyone was at the same level. It would be strange if they could win by using their weaknesses against their strengths. Although the Bai family couldn't accept this result, they couldn't do anything about it, since this was the rules of the ceremony. Not long after, Mo Xiao Bai and the others had completely recovered. Hobai had also returned with Yuan Su. Yuan Su had also completely recovered. He glanced at Mo Xiao Bai, and his eyes flashed. He nodded at him and didn't say anything. All right, it seems like you're all ready. Hobai glanced at everyone who was full of energy and nodded in satisfaction. Then let's go to the Wilderness God Temple. As for the others, the ceremony is about to begin. Let's go and participate in the feast. Everyone nodded and turned to look at their companions. Yin Shui smiled at Mo Xiao Bai and said, "Good luck." Mu Forest also nodded at Mo Xiao Bai and said, "Xiao Bai, you're so lucky. You'll probably get the inheritance this time, too." Mo Xiao Bai heard this and glanced at the dense red light in the Wilderness God altar. He smiled and nodded, "I'll do my best." The others also greeted their companions and came to Hobai's side. "Let's go." Hobai led the way in front, bringing them to the entrance of the altar. At the entrance stood a desolate person. It was the white-haired priest from before. Hobai brought everyone to the white-haired priest and bowed slightly to him. "Chief priest, sorry to trouble you." The white-haired priest glanced at the people behind Hobai and paused on Mo Xiao Bai. He was also present in the previous grand competition. Even though he had lived for thousands of years and had experienced countless grand competitions, he was still shocked. This was the first time he had seen such a genius in his long life. Perhaps this young man had a chance to become a god? The white-haired priest retracted his gaze and smiled kindly. "Don't worry, leave it to me. Then I'll have to trouble you." Hobai nodded and turned to Mo Xiao Bai and the others, saying, "I'll leave you here. I'll send you off to this point. Next, we'll need the chief priest to lead us into the desolate god altar." "Yes." Everyone nodded in agreement. Hobai nodded and turned to leave. The white-haired priest looked at everyone and smiled. His voice was no longer as loud as when he was praying. Instead, it had the gentleness of an elder. "Come in with me. The Wilderness God altar is a sacred place. I hope you will respect it." His last words were directed at the Azure Sky Body Fundamentalist. The Wilderness God apostles served the Wilderness God. They didn't just respect it. It was worship and faith from the bottom of their hearts. Mo Xiao Bai and the others nodded. "We understand. Thank you for your reminder, Chief Priest. Come in." The white-haired priest smiled satisfactorily and led everyone through the door. Inside the door was a winding path made of stone. There were unknown crystals on both sides of the path, emitting a gentle white light. The footsteps of the few people echoed in the path. The space was quiet and spacious, making people feel at ease. The interior of the altar was huge. The white-haired priest led them around for a long time. Mo Xiaobai was a little dizzy. After that, they arrived in front of a huge bronze door. The door was closed. There was a carving of a giant descending from the sky, leading the desolate people whose homes were destroyed by the demons to fight against the demons. Mo Xiaobai and the others stared at the carving on the door with their eyes wide open. It was as if they had returned to ancient times. The flames of war flashed before their eyes. This is the Wilderness God Temple. Chapter 257. The white-haired priest's voice pulled Mo Xiaobai and the rest back to reality. He turned around and looked at Mo Xiaobai and the rest. He smiled and said, "I won't be accompanying you in the Wilderness God Palace. The inheritance of the Wilderness God belongs to the fated ones. After you enter, you'll have to depend on yourselves. Good luck." Mo Xiaobai and the others nodded, their faces full of anticipation. The white-haired priest placed his hand on the thick bronze door and applied some force. Crack, crack, crack. The door slowly opened, revealing a gap that was wide enough for a person. Through the gap, Mo Xiaobai and the rest could vaguely see what was going on inside. "All right, let's go in. You can only stay in there for one night." Yuansa nodded at the priest and bowed slightly. "Thank you, priest. We'll go in now." As they spoke, they entered the Wilderness God Palace through the gap. The Wilderness God Palace was huge, with a radius of about 1,000 meters. From the door to the innermost area, there were thick stone pillars on both sides, supporting the domed roof. Some of the stone pillars were engraved with images of battles, while some were engraved with strange words and patterns. At the innermost area, there was a huge statue that was a few hundred meters tall. It was a warrior wearing armor and holding a heavy sword. His face was blurry. That must be the Wilderness God. In the Wilderness God Palace, other than the statue of the Wilderness God, there were also some stone tablets. Different things were engraved on each tablet. Some were runes, some were words, and some were images. There were many torches burning in the Wilderness God Palace. The flames flickered and the light flickered. Crack, crack, crack. After Mo Xiaobai and the rest entered the Wilderness God Palace, the door closed again. Mo Xiaobai and the others turned their heads to look at the closed door, and then turned their heads to look around. They were curious and shocked. "Is this the Wilderness God Palace? It's majestic." Yin Jing was shocked. Shi Zhe nodded in agreement. "It's indeed majestic." The domed roof was 1,000 meters tall, and the statue of the Wilderness God was a few hundred meters tall. There were also ancient tablets of different sizes. They looked like they were filled with the marks of time. It was shocking. Yuan Su and the other 3 Wilderness God apostles did not care about Mo Xiaobai and the rest. Step by step, they approached the origami statue with pious looks on their faces. He fell to his knees. First, he paid his respects to the origami. Mo Xiaobai and the others looked at each other when they saw this. After that, the few of them stepped forward and bowed before the origami statue. Although it was not the god that they believed in, he was still counting on the inheritance of the origami. He still had to show some respect. Otherwise, it would be too heartless. After paying their respects, Yuansu stood up with the 3 Desolation God apostles. "We only have one night. It is possible to obtain the inheritance from all over the desolate divine palace. Cherish it well." As he spoke, he turned to look at Mo Xiaobai. "Mo Xiaobai, this time, the inheritance of my God will definitely be mine. Let's compete again." Mo Xiaobai was taken aback. He looked at Yuan Su, who was unwilling to admit defeat, and smiled. "Then let's compete again." Gong Jin didn't say anything as he patted Mo Xiaobai's shoulder. "Then let's split up and find our own opportunities." Yes. It depends on luck." Gong Sun, she smiled. The others nodded as well. Everyone split up. Some knelt in front of the origami statue. Some went to the ancient tablets, while others looked at the stone pillars. Mo Xiao Bai's gaze swept across the entire desolate divine palace. He walked to a corner with a torch beside the door. There were no tablets or stone pillars in this area. It was still very far from the statue. It could be said that there was nothing here. However, it didn't matter to Mo Xiao Bai. This was because in his eyes, there were red and slightly purple threads of good luck intertwined in the air. He had only seen such a red thread of good luck in the void treasure. The thread of good luck was in the air. Mo Xiao Bai had encountered this situation a few times. He estimated that it would take some time for the good luck to come. Mo Xiao Bai went directly to where the thread of good luck was and sat down with his legs crossed. Although he didn't know what the inheritance was like, he still believed in the thread of good luck. He just had to wait. Time passed. The rest of the people kept walking in front of the tablets and stone pillars, trying to find something. After such a long time, they still didn't find anything. They were a little nervous. At this moment, Gongsun Shi, who passed by a tablet near the corner, saw Mo Xiao Bai sitting on the ground with his legs crossed and a bored look on his face. She couldn't help but be stunned. She looked at the people around her who were looking at the tablets and stone pillars. Then, she looked at Mo Xiao Bai, who was bored. Why did it feel like the two scenes were completely different? She couldn't help but ask in confusion, "Little brother Mo, why are you sitting here? There aren't any tablets or stone pillars here." As the good luck hadn't come yet, Mo Xiao Bai was in a daze. When he heard Gongsun Shi's words, he came back to his senses. Looking at the confused Gongsun Shi, Mo Xiao Bai smiled. "Nothing. I just feel that there might be an inheritance here." Feel? Gongsun Shi's expression became even stranger. Even if there was a feeling, it couldn't be in a place where there was nothing, right? She opened her mouth. "Why don't you try another place?" When Mo Xiao Bai heard this, he instantly looked at Gongsun Shi with a wary expression. "Do you want me to stay here?" "No, I refuse." Gongsun Shi. When she saw Mo Xiao Bai's wary expression, black lines appeared on her forehead. "Who wants a place like yours that doesn't have anything?" She was just reminding him out of kindness. This guy actually suspected her. She couldn't be bothered with him. The corners of Gongsun Shi's mouth twitched, then continued to wait. All the best. When Mo Xiao Bai heard this, he heaved a sigh of relief. So it wasn't because she wanted his territory? That was good. Otherwise, it would be quite troublesome if others were to come over. He revealed a kind smile. Miss Gongsun. All the best to you too." Gongsun Shi nodded and continued to look for other tablets and stone pillars. After Gongsun Shi, Yinjing also saw Mo Xiao Bai in a daze in the corner. The corners of his mouth twitched. "Brother Xiao Bai, what are you doing?" Mo Xiao Bai blinked. "I'm tired. I'm looking for a place to rest." Yinjing. "What the hell?" He looked at Mo Xiao Bai with a confused expression. Then he scratched his head. "There's not much time. Hurry up and continue after you've rested." "Oh, okay. Brother Yinjing, all the best to you too." Time continued to pass. A few more people passed by and saw Mo Xiao Bai. The blue body fundamentalist would ask out of curiosity. The desolate god apostle just looked at Mo Xiao Bai with some confusion and walked away. Time continued to pass. Just when Mo Xiao Bai was so bored that he started to count sheep, a strange power seemed to appear from the void. The surrounding lines of fate slowly fell from the sky onto Mo Xiao Bai's body. Mo Xiao Bai was shocked. "It's finally here." Chapter 258. Mo Xiao Bai closed his eyes, and a ray of light suddenly lit up in his dark consciousness. The light finally illuminated Mo Xiao Bai's consciousness completely. Boom! In the next moment, Mo Xiao Bai's body appeared in a pitch-black space. In the distance, there were dazzling stars. The sudden change made Mo Xiao Bai's eyes widen. He looked around and saw the dazzling stars. He was shocked. This is the star realm. Mo Xiao Bai's shock was not over yet. Suddenly, his vision blurred again, and he appeared outside a star. It was an extremely huge star. Outside the star, there were wisps of purplish-black fog that were filled with an evil and chaotic aura. The power of the void. Mo Xiao Bai looked at the power of the void surrounding the entire star, and his pupils constricted. He had never seen such a terrifying and rich power of the void before. Furthermore, on this star, in the area where the power of the void was spreading, there were cracks in the space. Terrifying evil demons flew out from the cracks and roared as they wreaked havoc on the star, killing the living beings on the star. When Mo Xiao saw the creatures they were killing, his eyes widened again. Those are the desolate people. These desolate people did not have any desolate marks on their bodies and were not very strong. In the face of the evil demons, their resistance was extremely weak. The flames of war raged, and there were corpses and ruins everywhere. Evil and chaos gradually filled the entire star. Mo Xiao looked at the scene in shock. If so many evil demons appeared in the Azure continent, it would probably be a disaster. There were too many of them, and they were too strong. Even if this star was huge, it would not take long for it to be completely occupied by the evil demons. At this moment, a huge black shadow suddenly appeared in front of the star. Mo Xiao was covered by the shadow and was stunned. He raised his head and looked. When he saw the huge shadow clearly, his eyes widened and his face was filled with shock. That was a person that was even bigger than the star. It was a giant wearing heavy bronze armor and carrying a heavy sword on his back. His face was blurry and impossible to see clearly. The only thing that could be seen was a pair of pale golden eyes filled with majesty and battle intent. These eyes, Mo Xiao was taken aback. He recalled the majestic pair of eyes behind Yuan Su when he launched his final attack. Origami? It's him? So big. Mo Xiao stared at the origami that was even larger than a star. He was stunned. He never knew that a god could be so huge. The origami lowered her head and looked at the evil demon that was killing the desolate dwellers. Her eyes flashed with anger. Demon. He reached out with his right hand, grabbing at the area on the planet where the most demons were gathered. In the next moment, an extremely sharp and shrill scream resounded throughout the entire star and even into the astral boundary. The origami retracted her hand, and a terrifying and ferocious demon was pulled out from the planet. His claws dug deep into the dimensional rift on the planet as he struggled to resist the power of the origami. However, the difference between the two was too great. The terrifying demon did not have the slightest bit of resistance. The demon's purplish-black eyes looked at the gigantic figure with fear in them. Go! The gigantic figure did not let the demon live for a second longer. She clenched her right hand. Boom! The terrifying and ferocious demon was instantly pulverized by the berserk power. Mo Xiao could not help but gulp when he saw that. Oh my god! He initially thought that the origami was a weakling. He did not expect it to be so terrifying. Although the demon looked a little small compared to the origami, it was still extremely huge. It should be at least a few hundred to 1,000 kilometers tall. Such a huge demon was crushed to death just like that. That was too terrifying. Mo Xiao's scalp went numb. Also, the origami had a name? Go. Go what? Mo Xiao was curious. Just as Mo Xiao was feeling curious, an anomaly suddenly occurred on the star. After the gigantic demon was pulled out, the dimensional rift that he was rooted in collapsed. The tiny dimensional rift seemed to be pushed by the origami's powerful force and began to expand rapidly. It even began to devour the planet where the desolates were. In the expanding dimensional rift, an extremely terrifying and ominous aura began to spread out. That was an extremely dense void power. It was a powerful existence that Mo Xiao could not imagine. The origami also noticed that. He turned around and looked. After seeing the dimensional rift collapse, his eyes flashed with a hint of coldness. Go back, he roared in a low voice. On his right hand, streaks of bronze light flashed as he held the dimensional rift. The next moment, an extremely terrifying force gushed out. Mo Xiao, who was in the astral realm, could even feel that the entire planet and beyond had formed a force tide. Such a dense force. If he were to cultivate inside, he might be able to break through in a short period of time. Mo Xiao was a little shocked. The origami was too strong, right? He could even move a star with a wave of his hand, or even the origin tides outside of the star. He was simply unimaginably strong. The force kept gushing out of the dimensional rift. The expanding dimensional rift began to shrink slowly. A strange and angry roar came out from the purplish-black dimensional rift. Primordial, we will enter. There were also strange voices. Mo Xiaobai only heard these strange words through the inherited memory, and he felt that his mind was on the verge of collapsing. What was even stranger was that Mo Xiaobai had never learned this strange language before. He did not even know what language it was, but he could understand it. If his mind was not on the verge of collapsing, he would be able to hear what the guy in the dimensional rift was saying. The strange voices did not seem to have any effect on the origami. His exposed eyes did not waver. He was still channeling the force. Soon, the dimensional rift was restored. However, under the devouring of the dimensional rift, the planet where the desolates was only left with a part of it. The ground cracked, the plates shook, and terrifying magma erupted. It was the end of the world. The planet seemed to be on the verge of destruction. Seeing this, the origami's eyes flashed with reluctance. He waved his right hand, and the terrifying force began to strengthen the collapsing planet. The planet that was about to explode was stabilized. However, on the planet, although the strongest demon was killed by the origami, there were still many demons left. The origami looked at the remaining demons, but he did not make a move. And Mo Xiaobai could understand his thoughts. He was too powerful. The planet was too fragile now. If he touched it slightly, the planet would probably explode. The origami was silent for a while. He seemed to have thought of something. In the astral space, he gathered the fragments of the star that flew out from the star. The force wrapped around the fragments. After a while, the force dissipated, and a figure that looked similar to the origami appeared. He was wearing armor and carrying a heavy sword. He had pale golden eyes and an indistinct face. Although the stone figure was a few hundred meters tall, it was too small compared to the origami. The origami's majestic voice was heard. I bestow upon you the name of desolation. Go protect these living beings and teach them. And Mo Xiaobai. He looked at the stone figure with a strange expression. The stone figure bowed to the origami and flew into the planet. What the F***CK? So this stone figure was the origami. Then this big guy. What the hell was that? And Mo Xiaobai looked at this giant that was even bigger than a star in confusion. Chapter 259. Just as Mo Xiaobai was staring at the terrifying giant in confusion, the giant seemed to have sensed something. He made a sound of confusion. Then, he turned around and looked at Mo Xiaobai's direction. The next moment, the giant's light golden eyes that had been calm all this time had a hint of surprise. He then spoke in a low voice. Interesting. There's a law that I can't understand. Interesting. Mo Xiaobai was stunned. This guy could see him? Law? What law? Him? Mo Xiaobai opened his mouth. He did not know if he should say anything. To be honest, this giant gave him too much pressure. Not only was it intimidating, but the giant's body was even bigger than a planet. It was terrifying just looking at it. Just as Mo Xiaobai was struggling, the shock in the giant's eyes had dissipated. He continued to murmur in a low voice. Forget it. The void tide is coming. I'll leave a spark for the future. As he spoke, he pointed his right index finger at Mo Xiaobai. A bronze radiance instantly traversed space and drilled into Mo Xiaobai's forehead. Go! The giant's deep voice was heard slowly. The scene in front of Mo Xiaobai's eyes suddenly shattered. The next moment, Mo Xiaobai's consciousness returned to his body. In the black sea of consciousness, a bronze light shone brightly. Countless information was emitted from the bronze light and merged into Mo Xiaobai's body. When Mo Xiaobai received the inheritance, the surface of his body gradually shone with a bronze light. The bronze light that was originally dim became brighter and brighter. At the same time, a mysterious and dense aura spread out. Yuan Su, who was kneeling in front of the origami statue, was the first to react. He opened his eyes abruptly. His gaze was like lightning as he looked in the direction of Mo Xiaobai's corner. After Yuan Su reacted, each and every one of the powerhouses also sensed something. This is what aura. The faces of the experts who were searching for the inheritance changed as they looked in the direction of Mo Xiaobai. When they saw the bronze glow around Mo Xiaobai's body, as well as the powerful aura that surrounded him, everyone's eyes widened. Inheritance of the origami. Mo Xiaobai actually obtained the inheritance of the origami. Everyone's mouth twitched. Mo Xiaobai's battle prowess was already ridiculous enough. In the end, this guy actually obtained the inheritance of the origami. How are they going to let him live? It was very unbearable. However, why would there be the origami's inheritance in that location? That's right, that position. Everyone noticed that the corner of Mo Xiaobai had neither a stone tablet nor a stone pillar. Or rather, there was nothing at all. Why was the origami's inheritance activated in such a location? This was especially so for Gongsun Shi, Yin Jing, and the others. Previously, they had even asked Mo Xiaobai to leave that place. Who would have thought that Mo Xiaobai actually obtained the inheritance in that location? Gongsun Shi's face was filled with discomfort. If she had known earlier, she would have shamelessly gone over to sit there herself. Wait a minute, Gongsun Shi suddenly thought of something. Mo Xiaobai said that he thought there would be an inheritance in that location. She did not take it seriously at that time. Now, he actually obtained the inheritance there? Why? Could he know where the inheritance would appear in advance? How was that possible? Although this was only the void territory of a four-apertured expert. However, none of the purgatory void domains were simple. Just like the origami, he was a deity. How could the inheritance left behind by such an expert be discovered by a four-apertured guy? Even if this person was Mo Xiaobai, it was impossible, right? Was he just lucky? Gongsun, she was confused. She felt that it was too ridiculous. Mo Xiaobai's aura was getting stronger and stronger, and the bronze glow around him was getting denser. Boom! When the bronze glow reached a critical point, a muffled sound was heard. The bronze glow turned into a pillar of light and shot up into the sky. At the same time, Mo Xiaobai's aura increased by a notch. Everyone felt a tightness in their chest. Even Yuan Su could not help but frown. The Desolation God Apostles looked at the bronze light pillar on Mo Xiaobai's body in disbelief. Why is there such a huge commotion? What is the inheritance this time? Why is there such a huge commotion? Although they had never received an inheritance before, they had seen it before. There had never been such a huge commotion before. In the square outside the origami altar, the feast after the ceremony had begun for a long time. The desolate people and the martial art fundamentalists were happily gathered together, singing and dancing. Yin Shui, Mu Forest, Yin family, Mu family, and other big families were enjoying the delicious food. Lu Feiyu, Ho Bai, and the others were drinking and chatting. Suddenly, a bronze beam of light shot out from the top of the desolate god altar. The light pillar lit up the night sky. The joyous atmosphere of the feast stopped. Everyone opened their eyes wide and looked in the direction of the origami altar. Puffed. Hobai spat out the wine in his mouth. He wiped the corner of his mouth and did not pay much attention to it. His eyes were still fixed in the direction of the bronze light pillar, his face full of shock. That is the inheritance of the origami? What a powerful inheritance. What kind of inheritance is it? Every desolate dweller expert revealed a horrified expression. Lu Feiyu and the others were confused. Is this the origami inheritance? Is it that exaggerated? Hobai murmured. I haven't seen such a powerful origami inheritance in a long time. Yin Shui and the others who were not far away also looked up at the light pillar in the sky. Is that an inheritance? Yin Long was dumbfounded. It's so majestic. It's a little different from the origami inheritance I knew. Mu Ziki scratched his head and was also a little confused. I wonder who received the inheritance. Bai Yushan asked curiously. None of the Bai family members had entered the origami palace, and they were already upset. It must be Xiao Bai, Mu Forest said with certainty. Yin Shui nodded slightly. The others looked at the two of them in confusion. Why is it Mo Xiao Bai? They could not understand Mu Forest and Yin Shui's certainty. Mu Forest said with a matter-of-fact face, "Because Xiao Bai is lucky. Doesn't the origami inheritance depend on luck? It must be him." Everyone, what kind of reason is that? There are many people who are lucky, and it's impossible to be lucky all the time, right? Xiao Bai's luck isn't ordinary. It's the kind that's very special, very, very magical. Do you understand? Mu Forest recalled Mo Xiao Bai's strange luck and explained to the others. Everyone. They looked at each other, and their minds are full of question marks. I don't understand. Very special, very magical. What kind of luck is that? Forest? Are you drunk? Even Mu Feng could not help but complain. I'm not drunk. It must be Xiao Bai. Mu Forest was a little speechless by the others' complaints and could not help but refute. Everyone looked at each other and shrugged. They looked like they would believe whatever he said. Obviously, they did not take it seriously. Mu Forest felt a little depressed. On the other hand, Yin Shui didn't say anything. She just looked at the bronze light pillar and waited curiously. Chapter 260. Time slowly passed. After a long while, Mo Xiao Bai finally finished absorbing the inheritance's information. Mo Xiao Bai opened his eyes and slowly exhaled. Excitement flashed through his eyes. This inheritance was an origin skill. Moreover, it was a legendary-level explosive origin skill. Battle tattoos erupted. Through condensing battle tattoos, he was able to explode with power far greater than before. There were a total of 3 levels of eruption. Just the first level of eruption could increase his physical strength and origin power by 3 times. The second level of eruption could increase his strength by 8 times. At the third level, his physical strength and origin power would increase by 20 times. This was just his most basic physical strength and origin power. If he added in the various origin skills, the increase would naturally be even greater. If he had 3 levels of battle tattoos, he would have been able to grind that lore to the ground. Unfortunately, condensing battle tattoos required time. Mo Xiao Bai couldn't even use the first level of eruption. He could only slowly condense it later. As expected of a giant larger than a star. Even a casual gift was so powerful. Also, Mo Xiao Bai carefully sensed his body. That bronze light from before had increased his physical strength and consciousness power by about 2 levels. Even his origin power, which was already considered extremely condensed in the void, had become even more condensed. Apart from that, Mo Xiao Bai felt that he had changed somewhat. However, he couldn't quite put his finger on it. Brother Xiao Bai, what kind of inheritance did you receive? Is it powerful? An excited voice pulled Mo Xiao Bai back to reality. He didn't think too much about it. If it was something that was harmful to him, his luck line would definitely react. Since there was no reaction, it meant that this change was harmless. Only then did he realize that there were a few people around him. Gong Jin, Yin Jing, Gong Sun Shi, and the others were all there. Even Yuan Su and the other 3 Desolation God Apostles were there. Gong Jin and the others surrounded him, while Yuan Su and the other Desolation God Apostles were on the outside. Seeing that Mo Xiao Bai had woken up, they were all excited at this moment. Yin Jing was the one who had asked the question. Mo Xiao Bai smiled slightly. I obtained a legendary level origin skill. Hiss! Everyone widened their eyes and looked at Mo Xiao Bai enviously. It's a legendary origin skill, as expected of the inheritance of the origami. Shirzei's handsome face was distorted with envy, and his eyes were green. Damn it, I only have 1 epic origin skill right now, and I have to comprehend it myself. I don't even have an origin skill crystal. Jealousy makes one unrecognizable. Everyone was extremely envious at this moment. Legendary grade origin skill crystals were extremely precious, even in large clans. Of course, if it was just a book on origin skills, then as long as one had the talent and enough cultivation, they could still learn it from a large clan. However, the difficulty of learning a legendary grade origin skill was too high. Spending a few decades would be a piece of cake. By the time a martial fundamentalist reached a high level, even those with epic and legendary origin skills would find it difficult to cultivate them to perfection. After all, he had bought origin skill books to cultivate. Mu Yoshuang looked at Shirzei's envious expression and couldn't help but roll her eyes. Let's not talk about legendary grade origin skills. Even if it's an epic origin skill, with our origin power, using it twice would completely exhaust our origin power, right? Even if we gave you an epic origin skill, would you be able to use it? When Shirzei heard this, he was stunned, and then he revealed an expression of understanding. That makes sense. As he spoke, he laughed loudly and looked at Mo Xiaobai with some sympathy. He patted Mo Xiaobai's shoulder. Now that you mention it, I feel some sympathy for Brother Xiaobai. You clearly have a legendary grade origin skill, but you can't use it. How uncomfortable must that be? Although he spoke of sympathy, Shirzei's face was full of schadenfreude. There was nothing he could do. Who asked a legendary grade origin skill to be so precious? It was impossible to say that he wasn't envious. Even the others looked at Mo Xiaobai with a smile that wasn't a smile. He clearly had a trump card, but he couldn't use it. This feeling was definitely hard to describe. Mo Xiaobai, looking at the gloating expressions on their faces, he really wanted to say something. Actually, he still had 2 legendary grade origin skills moreover. Even if they were legendary grade origin skills, he definitely wouldn't die after using them once. At most, he would be slightly injured. Of course, he hadn't condensed any battle tattoos, so he really couldn't use them. Isn't it because of the inheritance bestowed by our desolate god? One of the desolate god apostles said sourly. The others also looked at Mo Xiaobai sourly. They didn't expect that the desolate god's inheritance wasn't obtained by their apostles, but instead given to an outsider. Naturally, they didn't dare to have any disrespectful thoughts towards the desolate god. However, they definitely had some enmity towards Mo Xiaobai. Mo Xiaobai looked at the sour expressions on their faces, and his expression was a little strange. Desolate god. To be honest, his inheritance shouldn't be considered a gift from the desolate god, right? Should it be considered a gift from the desolate god's creator? However, Mo Xiaobai didn't say this out loud. The desolate people obviously didn't have any records of that terrifying giant. If he said that the desolate god was created, it would be an insult to the desolate people. That was too low of an emotional quotient. Mo Xiaobai only smiled and didn't say anything. Yuan Su, who had been silent all this while, looked at Mo Xiaobai and slowly said, "My god chose you." I lost again. His tone was a little disappointed. As the first apostle of the desolate god, he was naturally very confident in himself. In the end, the desolate god actually gave the inheritance to Mo Xiaobai, which made him feel a little defeated. Mo Xiaobai glanced at him and smiled. Yuan Su, where did the origin skill you used before come from? Of course, Brother Yuan Su received a divine enlightenment. The desolate god gave it to him. A desolate god apostle opened his mouth and looked at Mo Xiaobai with hostility. Mo Xiaobai smiled. Look, the desolate god gave you a divine enlightenment. How can it be considered abandoning you? The one who gave him the inheritance wasn't the desolate god, okay? Mo Xiaobai couldn't help but complain in his heart. Upon hearing this, Yuan Su, who was originally somewhat defeated, was stunned. Then, his somewhat dim eyes lit up again. That's right, my god gave me a divine enlightenment. How can it be considered abandoning me? I'm a god's chosen. This could only mean that this human was indeed stronger than him. However, the desolate god was still their god. He would never abandon his followers. He looked at Mo Xiaobai deeply. Thank you, Mo Xiaobai. You're stronger than me. Mo Xiaobai smiled and didn't say anything. Yuan Su was still quite strong. He would probably become stronger in the future. It would be a pity if he continued to be dispirited like this. At this moment, the door of the desolate god's palace opened. The white-haired priest's kind voice came from outside the door. Children, since the inheritance is complete, it's time to come out. Chapter 261. After walking out of the wilderness god hall, the white-haired priest closed the door again. He glanced at them and said with a smile, You're right. The inheritance this time seems to be very powerful. Which one of you obtained it? The wilderness god apostles all turned to look at Mo Shao Bai. The white-haired priestess looked over with an unsurprised look in her eyes. Is it you? I knew it. He nodded lightly and glanced at Yuan Su with a helpless smile on his face. During the grand competition, I already had some guesses. It's just as I expected. Mo Shao Bai smiled embarrassedly. Yuan Su's mouth twitched, but he didn't say anything. All right, let's go. The white-haired priest didn't say anything else and smiled. After leaving the wilderness god altar, Lu Feiyu, Ho Bai, and the other Azure Nation and Desolate Nation higher-ups were already waiting. Seeing the white-haired priest bring Mo Shao Bai and the rest out, Lu Feiyu and the rest went up to them. Everyone looked at Mo Shao Bai and the rest with anticipation. Ho Bai grinned. Who obtained the inheritance this time? This kid obtained the inheritance. The white-haired priest glanced at Mo Shao Bai. Seeing that it was Mo Shao Bai, the Desolate Nation higher-ups looked hopeless. However, Lu Feiyu and the rest of the Azure Nation experts smiled. Ha ha ha. As expected of Mo Shao Bai, Lu Feiyu patted Mo Shao Bai's shoulder. Ho Bai's smile was a little forced. Congratulations, the Azure Nation geniuses are indeed powerful. Mo Shao Bai only smiled and replied. Then, he bid farewell to Ho Bai and the rest with Yin Jing and the rest. After bidding farewell, Mo Shao Bai and the rest returned to where the other geniuses were. Seeing that Mo Shao Bai and the rest had returned, Mu Forest was the first to welcome them. Shao Bai, did you obtain the inheritance this time? Hearing Mu Forest's words, Mo Shao Bai was stunned for a moment before nodding his head. Yes, it's me. Did you hear that? Did you hear that? You must be Shao Bai. I knew it was him. Mu Forest turned his head and looked at everyone excitedly. These fellows didn't believe his words before. Wood Forest immediately felt proud and elated. When the others heard this, their expressions changed. No way. Is it really you? Gong Sunyi's pretty face scrunched up in disbelief. You're already so strong. How did you manage to obtain this inheritance? Everyone else nodded their heads in agreement. Gong Sunyi had simply spoken out their inner thoughts. And Mo Shao Bai. His mind was full of question marks. Why couldn't he obtain the inheritance when he was so strong? Bai Yueling, the heavenly Tao is unfair. Shi Zhengchu said, how are ordinary people like us supposed to live? All of them were sighing, and Mo Shao Bai was speechless. If these fellows were ordinary people, then what were ordinary people? Cheer up. Think about it. This guy obtained a legendary origin skill, but he can't use it now, right? Rounding it off, isn't that the same as not gaining anything? Yin Jing comforted them. Hiss, a legendary origin skill. Envious +1. Yin Jing, are you really comforting us? When he heard everyone's words, Mo Shao Bai couldn't help but roll his eyes. He glanced at Yin Shui beside him. Yin Shui smiled at him, looking somewhat happy. Congratulations. After the inheritance, the ceremony wasn't over yet. Mo Shao Bai and the others also enjoyed the atmosphere of the ceremony. When the ceremony ended, Mo Shao Bai and the others found a hotel to stay in. Mo Shao Bai returned to his room and took a hot bath, washing away his fatigue. Then, he sat cross-legged on his bed and began to cultivate the Battle Rune Eruption origin skill. Battle Rune Eruption condensed one's battle intent into battle runes to cultivate. As for battle intent, the more battles one fought, the stronger one's battle intent would be. Mo Xiao Bai had experienced quite a number of battles up until now. At this moment, streaks of bronze light flickered on the surface of his body. All of the bronze light slowly flowed towards Mo Shao Bai's forehead. Finally, an illusory bronze rune appeared between Mo Shao Bai's eyebrows. As time passed, the bronze vertical lines turned from illusory to solid. Mo Shao Bai's aura was also very strong. When all of the bronze light merged into the bronze rune, Mo Shao Bai slowly opened his eyes. As Mo Shao Bai opened his eyes, the rune between his eyebrows also disappeared. He exhaled slightly and revealed a smile. He had experienced many battles, but the battle intent he had accumulated was only enough to form a single battle rune. However, the battle rune between Emo Xiao Bai's eyebrows appeared once again, and he felt the terrifying power in his body explode. Emo Xiao Bai revealed a satisfied smile. Although it was only a single level of battle rune eruption, the increase was too great. However, the consumption was too great. In just one move, Emo Xiao Bai had used up about 1/5 of his origin power. If he had used all of his strength, he would have been drained dry in just 5 seconds. After all, he had the Void Origin skill. Furthermore, the Void Origin skill had been increased to nearly 8 times its original strength. Combined with his flawless Origin skill and the condensation from the inheritance, his Origin power should be much stronger than most 6-chakra body fundamentalists. Even so, he could only last for about 5 seconds. This was just using the battle rune. If other Origin skills were added, he might only be able to fight at full strength for 3 seconds. After 3 seconds, he would be completely drained. Should he say that it was a legendary Origin skill? Digestion was terrifying. Emo Xiao Bai sighed. Of course, if it was his final trump card, it would be pretty good. In these 3 seconds, he might be invincible. After thinking for a while, Emo Xiao Bai stopped thinking about it. He got off the bed and walked out of the room. As soon as he opened the door, Emo Xiao Bai saw Yin Jing and the others in a hurry. Their expressions were very serious. When Yin Jing and the others saw Emo Xiao Bai walk out, they were stunned at first, then smiled. Yin Shui said, "You're done cultivating? You've been in seclusion for 2 days." Emo Xiao Bai was stunned. 2 days? He had been in seclusion for so long. He did not expect this. However, when he saw the serious expressions on their faces, he was a little puzzled. "What's wrong? You guys don't look good," Yin Long said slowly. "The blood tide is about to start. Also, it's going to cause a huge commotion this time. It might be very serious." Hearing this, Emo Xiao Bai immediately thought of the Blood King in the Bloody Wilderness. His expression changed as he looked at Yin Shui. Yin Shui also looked at him. The two of them looked at each other. Clearly, they had the same thought. The Desolate Blood Army is gathering adventurers to help guard the Bloody Wilderness. We plan to go over. What about you? Emo Xiao Bai nodded. I'll go too. Chapter 262. After going downstairs, Emo Xiao Bai discovered that Mu Forest, the Mu family, and the geniuses of several other families were also here. In addition to the geniuses of several families, there were also some adventurers who had gathered together. Everyone's expression was very solemn. After seeing Emo Xiao Bai come down, Mu Forest's eyes lit up. "Xiao Bai, you're done cultivating?" "Yes." "You're all planning to leave?" "Yes." "Isn't the blood tide coming?" "We're planning to go and guard the border of the Bloody Wilderness. You were cultivating, so we didn't call you." Mu Forest looked around. These adventurers are planning to go. It said that the blood tide this time is quite serious. The Adventure Center even issued a guard mission with great rewards. Emo Xiao Bai nodded, indicating that he understood. "Okay, everyone's here. Let's go." Gong Jin said. Everyone left the hotel and moved out of the desolate city. Emo Xiao Bai and the geniuses of those families left. "Let's follow them. It's more convenient to go with them." "Yeah, there's no danger on the way." The adventurers discussed and followed Emo Xiao Bai and the others to the encampment. As for Lu Feiyu and the others, they had already left. After returning to the encampment, Emo Xiao Bai found that it was much more spacious than last time. Only a few adventurers had yet to leave. The others had probably gone to the Bloody Wilderness. Some of these adventurers felt that their combat strength wasn't enough, while others were unwilling to leave. After all, the blood tide was too dangerous. Not all adventurers were willing to take risks for the great rewards. Apart from the adventurers, there were also the guards who had to stay here to protect the encampment. Emo Xiao Bai and the others didn't stay and left through the Void Gate. After leaving the Adventure Center, everyone took out their mounts and flew toward the Desolate Blood City. The Desolate Blood City, the Desolate Blood Army's encampment, command center. Yin Qi sat in the main seat. The upper echelons of the Desolate Blood Army sat around the 2 conference tables. "General, According to the information sent back by the scouts, the depths of the bloody wilderness are currently surrounded by a bloody mist. The situation inside is somewhat difficult to ascertain. Yin Qi frowned. What about the scale of the blood tide? Can't you find anything? One of the night creatures who was standing to make the report lowered his head slightly, feeling somewhat guilty. Yes, General, we haven't found anything yet. As he spoke, he raised his head again with a resolute expression on his face. However, this general is willing to make a military order. I'll definitely find out what that blood fog is and how many blood fiends and blood ghosts are inside. Yin Qi's expression was still solemn. He glanced at the night spirit man and nodded. Get to the bottom of this as soon as possible. Otherwise, when the blood tide starts and we're not prepared, we'll be too passive. Yes. Yin Qi turned to look at a merman. Commander Liu, how's the situation on your side? Captain Liu stood up. General, the military equipment and supplies have been contacted by Azure. They will arrive in at most 2 days. The various legions have also prepared for battle. The defensive line is being built. Yes. Yin Qi nodded. Build the defensive line as soon as possible. Yes. Yin Qi nodded and looked at a human man beside him. What about the adventurers? The Adventurers Guild's mission has been sent out. There are already many adventurers here. When the time comes, they will be arranged at various defensive lines according to the specific situation. Yin Qi nodded. The most important thing now is to investigate the situation inside the blood fog. The Blood King who revived in the depths of the bloody wilderness last time hasn't moved yet. The blood fog this time might be related to him. The Blood King is extremely dangerous. This needs to be investigated clearly. The meeting discussed some more issues before Yin Qi announced the end of the meeting. The various higher-ups of the Desolate Blood Army hurriedly left and began to busy themselves with their own matters. Soon, only Yin Qi and a female elven general sitting below him were left in the entire meeting room. The female elven general had a head of black hair that was somewhat rare for elves. Her blue eyes were as deep as the deep sea, and her appearance was somewhat heroic and extremely beautiful. Yin Qi leaned back in his chair, rubbed his forehead tiredly, and exhaled. The female elven general looked at Yin Qi's exhausted appearance, and a trace of heartache flashed through her blue eyes. She stood up and came behind Yin Qi, her fair hands pressed on Yin Qi's temples and gently massaged. Streaks of light green light merged into Yin Qi's meridians. Yin Qi's exhaustion slowly disappeared. Brother Qi, it's been hard on you. She spoke softly. Yin Qi chuckled. Guarding the bloody wilderness is part of my duty. How is it hard? I wonder what the scale of the blood tide this time will be. A trace of worry flashed through Ying Shuifei's eyes. Yin Qi also frowned. Last time, not long after the Blood King revived, an unprecedented blood fog appeared. The activities of the blood fiends and blood ghosts also became more and more violent. I wonder if the blood tide this time is related to him. But what about the blood ghost in the bloody wilderness? Can she be subordinate to the Blood King? Ying Shuifei frowned slightly. Yin Qi's eyes flashed. After a moment of silence, he sighed softly. The Scarlet Rift is too deep, and now there's a blood fog blocking it. I wonder what the relationship between the Blood King and the Mother of Blood Ghosts is. If they're in an alliance, Yin Qi frowned and didn't continue. If two sacred domains were in an alliance, and one of them was the Blood King from ancient times, it would be too much pressure for the Desolate Blood Army. The defense line in the bloody wilderness might even be lost, and the demigods were suppressing the abyss. A slight move in one part could affect the whole situation. If they left, the situation might be even worse. Just thinking about it gave him a headache. After a moment of silence, Yin Qi shook his head. Let's go and see the situation. Ying Shuifei nodded slightly. A few days later, Mo Xiao sat on Yin Jing's enormous origin motorcycle, which could carry hundreds of people, and looked at the scenery outside the window. The outside was full of adventurers' mounts. Some of them were body fundamentalists who came out with them. Some of them were encountered on the way. There are so many adventurers outside. Bai Yushan frowned slightly. Do so many adventurers come every time the blood tide comes? No. Gong Jin shook his head. He looked at the magic beasts and origin motorcycles outside the window. There are a lot of adventurers this time. It seems that the reward for guarding the blood tide this time is more generous than we thought. Shernyming frowned slightly, and her soft voice sounded. Adventurers didn't wake up early if there were no benefits. If there weren't enough rewards, it was impossible to make them risk their lives. That also means that the blood tide this time is much more dangerous than before. Shi Jingchu's expression was solemn. At this moment, Yan Jing's voice came from the front. The desolate blood city is in front. Chapter 263. Mo Xiaobai looked up. In the distance, a huge city rose from the horizon. As they got closer, the city looked even more majestic. The city walls surrounding the city were hundreds of meters tall and covered in dark red marks. They looked like traces of blood. On both sides of the city, there were walls hundreds of meters tall that extended all the way to the horizon. It was a magnificent sight. That's the blood wall. It covers the entire bloody wilderness and separates it from the interior. Yan Shui looked at the blood wall that extended all the way to the horizon. Her icy blue eyes flashed with an indescribable expression. She said softly, "My father told me that every inch of the blood wall is stained with the blood of the desolate blood army." Mo Xiaobai looked at the wall of blood and slowly nodded without saying a word. The guards of the 3 forbidden zones were the Azure Empire's line of defense. The sacrifices they had made were unimaginable. Soon, the force car stopped outside the desolate blood city. "We need to be checked before entering the city. Let's get off." Yan Jing stood up and said to everyone. Everyone got off the car. Mo Xiaobai looked up in the direction of the desolate blood city. There were several gates outside the desolate blood city. At this moment, there was a long line outside each gate. Mo Xiaobai and the others found a line with fewer people and started lining up. While they were lining up, more and more adventurers descended from the sky. The adventurers were all discussing the blood tide. Some were excited, some were worried. The line was already very long, but now was getting longer and longer. At this moment, Mu Sunlin, who was in front, looked at his communication crystal and suddenly spoke. "My sister is here too." Mo Xiaobai was startled. "Sister Xia Tong?" "Yes. Many people from the Mu family came. They're already in the city. They want us to find them after entering the city." While Mu Forest was talking, Mo Xiaobai's communication crystal also rang. He opened it and saw that it was a message from Suyin. "Xiaobai, you came to the desolate blood city with Mu Forest? Did Xiao Shui come? Come find us when you enter the city. Also, did you miss your sister?" He, Omega, Mo Xiaobai. Seeing Su Yin's message, he was speechless. Yan Shui looked at Mo Xiaobai's communication crystal and her mouth twitched. "Sister Su Yin sent it?" "Yes." Mo Xiaobai nodded. At the same time, he deleted Su's message. "Looks like Big Sister Su Yin contacted you too? Then let's go find them." Soon, the long line continued to move forward, and it was soon their turn. "Take out your adventurer's badge." The gatekeeper wearing the blood-colored desolate blood army uniform glanced at Mo Xiaobai and reached out his hand. Mo Xiaobai took out the adventurer medal and handed it over. "Silver adventurer?" Seeing Mo Xiaobai's badge, not only the desolate blood army, but also the Mu Forest and the geniuses from the aristocratic families were stunned. Bai Yushan's mouth twitched. "Brother Xiaobai, you're already a silver adventurer? You're only in your 2nd year, right?" "Yeah." "When did you become a silver adventurer?" Here, apart from a few 4-chakra geniuses, most of them were still bronze adventurers. After all, to become a silver adventurer, one had to complete several silver missions. Even for Tian, it was quite difficult. When Mo Xiaobai heard their words, he was stunned. Then he thought for a moment and said, "I've been promoted for a long time, right? Half a year?" He remembered that he had been promoted in the Dark Forest. It had been a long time. Everyone was speechless. While most people were still fighting to become a silver adventurer, this guy had been a silver adventurer for so long. Only Yin Shui, who was most familiar with Mo Xiaobai, knew that Mo Xiaobai was a silver adventurer. Her expression was the calmest. The desolate blood army's gatekeeper also took a second look at Mo Xiaobai. Everyone here was a genius. He knew that when he checked the Desolate Blood Army's badges. However, this was a bit exaggerated. According to others, he was only in his second year, and he was already a silver adventurer. Awesome, awesome. He used a device to check the badge. After confirming that there were no mistakes, he returned it to Mo Xiaobai. Sir, thank you for coming to the Desolate Blood City. I hope you can bravely kill the enemies in the Blood Tide and be invincible. The gatekeeper's attitude was much better. Mo Xiaobai nodded lightly and said with a smile, "Thank you for your kind words." After the inspection, Mo Xiaobai and the others entered the Desolate Blood City. So many powerhouses. Gong Suni was surprised. The Desolate Blood City wasn't just the Desolate Blood Army's headquarters. It was also an outpost for adventurers in the Bloody Wilderness. Many adventurers who entered the Bloody Wilderness would choose to resupply and exchange information here. Not only that, but there were also several high-level void domains here. As a result, the Desolate Blood City was as prosperous as the other big cities in the Northern Blue region. At this moment, there were even more powerhouses here because of the Blood Tide. Mo Xiaobai looked around and saw powerful body fundamentalists all over the place. There were fewer 3-apertured ones, 4-apertured ones, and many 5-apertured ones and 6-apertured ones. There were even 7-apertured ones flying in the air. The aura of powerhouses was everywhere. Mo Xiaobai and the others were at the 4-apertured level. They were considered the lowest level here. Our family's elders should have already gone to discuss the defense this time, right? Let's go to the hotel first. I think it's the Bloody Rose Hotel. Yeah. Everyone discussed as they moved toward the Bloody Rose Hotel in the center of the Desolate Blood City. As one of the big families in the Azure region, the situation of the Blood Tide was serious. Naturally, some of the big families would send people to guard it. Top powerhouses couldn't act as they wished, but the families didn't lack ordinary powerhouses. It was the same for the Mu, Yin, and Su families. The Bloody Rose Hotel was located in the center of the Desolate Blood City. It was the property of the Half Moon Financial Group, which was Mo Xiaobai Sr., Tongsu's family. There were bright red roses carved on the outside. It looked quite gorgeous, but it matched the gloomy atmosphere of the Desolate Blood City. After entering the hall, Mo Xiaobai saw a group of people waiting. Su Yin and Natsu Ki were among them. Seeing Mo Xiaobai and the others enter, the waiting crowd looked over. Su Yin saw Mo Xiaobai, and her eyes lit up. She smiled and waved at Mo Xiaobai. "Xiaobai, over here." There were a few geniuses from the Su family who came with Mo Xiaobai, but they didn't know Mo Xiaobai. They thought that Su Yin was here to pick them up. Hearing Su Yin's words, the geniuses from the Su family were dumbfounded. What the F*** CK? Sister Yin knows brother Mo Xiaobai. The geniuses from a Su family looked at Mo Xiaobai, dumbfounded. Chapter 264. Su Yin's voice attracted the attention of many geniuses. Under everyone's gaze, Su Yin walked over and hugged Mo Xiaobai's shoulder. "I heard that you went to the remnant realm of the Great Desolation. You even obtained a legendary origin skill? Not bad, kid." Su Yin laughed mischievously as he reached out and hammered Mo Xiaobai's shoulder. The Su family's people and the group of geniuses beside them were dumbfounded. Their relationship was so good. Yin Shui frowned when she saw this. "Sister Yin, everyone is watching. Why are you guys pulling each other's hands? What a scandal." Hearing this, Su Yin glanced at Yin Shui and grinned with her eyes narrowed. She let go of Mo Xiaobai and hugged Yin Shui. Then, she put her lips next to Yin Shui's ear. Yin Shui felt a warm breeze brushing past her ear. Goosebumps appeared all over her body, and her body trembled slightly. Su Yin smiled and whispered into Yin Shui's ear. Little Shui, are you jealous? Why don't you give it a try too?" Yin Shui's body stiffened. She pursed her lips and twisted her body to escape from Su Yin's embrace. Her pretty face was flushed red as she glared at Su Yin angrily. Su Yin didn't care at all. She was still smiling foolishly. At this moment, Natsu Ki also walked over. She ignored the forest at the side and looked at Mo Xiaobai. She had a gentle smile on her face and gently brushed her hair. Congratulations, Xiaobai. You obtained the Rage God's inheritance. You must have been in the limelight in the remnant realm of the Great Desolation, right? Mo Xiaobai was a little helpless. I didn't want to be in the limelight. It was for the Rage God's inheritance. Sister Xiaotong, you know the consequences of being in the limelight. To be honest, if possible, Mo Xiaobai really didn't want to be in the limelight. It was best to make a fortune quietly, like when they were searching for the void treasure. Think about the consequences of him being in the limelight. Now, the void demon looked at him as if he had killed his father. Yu Jiang even gave him a divine grudge imprint. If possible, who would want to be in the limelight? When Natsu Ki heard Mo Xiaobai's words, he naturally understood what he meant. He couldn't help but smile. He, that's true. While Mo Xiaobai and Natsu Ki were chatting, Move Forest reminded them with a stiff expression. Ahem, that sis, your little brother is here. Natsu Ki glanced at the forest, nodded slightly, and smiled. Yeah, I saw him. He's fine. With Xiaobai around, I'm not worried. Move Forest. He looked back and forth between Natsu Ki and Mo Xiaobai in shock. What the F*** CK? Why did he feel like something was wrong with them? Not only Move Forest, but even Mu Ziki and the others were looking at Mo Xiaobai and Natsu Ki in shock. Especially Natsu Ki. They looked at each other, their eyes full of question marks. This was completely different from the terrifying Natsu Ki they knew. What was the relationship between the two of them? The experts from the other families also walked over at this moment. The Gong family's expert was Gong He, whom Mo Xiaobai had seen previously. As for the others, Taishu Jin was also present. There were also some that Mo Xiaobai didn't recognize. Gong He smiled and nodded at Mo Xiaobai, then walked over to the Gong family and began to ask about the previous situation. After chatting for a while, someone said, "All right, stop talking. All right, let's not chat here anymore. Book a room and let them rest." Everyone nodded in agreement. At this moment, Suyin smiled and put her arm around Mo Xiaobai's shoulder. Lil Whitey can stay with us. We're staying in a suite. The room is free. The Su family members were shocked. Apart from the Su family, the other geniuses and experts were also stunned, especially Taishu Jin, who felt like he could hear his heart breaking. Of course, it wasn't just Taishu Jin. A few experts who liked Su-in also heard the same thing. They all looked at Mo Xiaobai with a green light in their eyes. Mo Xiaobai felt Taishu Jin and the others' gazes and raised his head in confusion. He was startled when he saw the look in their eyes. What the F*** CK? Why were these people looking at him like that? Those who didn't know better would think that he had done something wrong to them. Wait, wasn't that the guy he met in Tianchuang City? Mo Xiaobai looked at Taishu Jin with a look of realization. Natsu Ki also smiled and nodded. All right, stay in our suite. The Mu family... Forest? He looked at Mo Xiaobai with grief and indignation in his eyes. What the F*** CK? This bastard really wanted to be his brother-in-law. Xiao Xue, come too. Suyin thought of something and looked at Yin Shui. The Yin family members trembled when they heard Su Yin's words. Although it was a suite, Yin Shui was still a virgin. How could she stay in the same room as Mo Xiaobai? Wasn't this a F*** King joke? Yin Jing was about to speak when Yin Shui nodded. All right. She looked as if it was only natural. The Yin family. She agreed. The Yin family members looked at each other and felt their scalps go numb. While everyone was still in a daze, Su-in had already left with Mo Xiaobai with a smile. Natsu Ki and Yin Shui naturally left together. Everyone was left in a mess in the wind. This was something they had not expected at all. The Mu family members looked at each other and swallowed their saliva. Ahem, let's report to third uncle later. The others nodded in agreement. The Yin family and Su-in naturally thought so too. They had to inform the elders about this. If something happened, it would be difficult to explain. While everyone was whispering to each other, Mo Xiaobai and Yin Shui had already been brought to a room by Su-in and Natsu Ki. As the best hotel in Bloodlust City, and a luxurious room at that, it didn't disappoint Mo Xiaobai in any way. There was only one word to describe it: luxurious. Suyin pressed Mo Xiao Bai onto the sofa. Her crimson eyes were shining as she looked at Mo Xiao Bai curiously. Xiao Bai, what's the inheritance of the origami like? I didn't even have it when I opened my fourth aperture. Natsuki and Yin Shui sat down and also looked at Mo Xiao Bai curiously. Under the curious gazes of the three people, Mo Xiao Bai smiled and told them about the inheritance. The three of them widened their eyes and exclaimed in surprise. There's a giant bigger than a planet? Suyin was curious. Is that a deity? Natsuki frowned. It should be. Even the stars couldn't withstand that giant's attack. Only a deity can create living beings, right? Yin Shui was also curious. There's such a powerful deity in the astral plane. Mo Xiaobai nodded. But looking at that giant's behavior, it shouldn't be a deity. That's true. If it was a deity, it wouldn't have killed the demons and created the origami to help the desolate people. Suyin nodded. At that moment, she seemed to have thought of something and her eyes widened. Wait, that's not right. If that's the case, the desolate people should be on a star in the astral plane. Why would they be in the void? Hearing Su Yin's words, Mo Xiao Bai and the others were also stunned. They looked at each other and fell into deep thought. Chapter 265. Bloodmoor, Guardian Ruins. Wisps of thick blood mist seeped out from the ruins. The blood mist spread, and all the vampires and blood fiends that came into contact with it paused. The next moment, all the vampires and blood fiends became even more violent. They greedily absorbed the blood mist, and their auras grew stronger. Outside the Guardian Ruins, Mother of Blood Demons, Shun Sha, and Blood King Meng Shi stood facing each other in the air. Behind the Mother of Blood Demons stood 4 Blood Sons and a group of Blood Demon elites. Although these Blood Demon elites were also breathing in the blood mist and becoming stronger, they did not lose their minds like the low-level vampires and blood fiends. Behind Meng Shi stood the red-haired, red-eyed Meng Chung, who wore blood-red armor and a blood-red cloak, as well as a group of Blood Wolf Rabbitmen cavalry. Auras surged between Shun Sha and Meng Shi. The blood mist churned, and even the space fluctuated. The powerful aura caused all the blood fiends and blood wraiths that had turned violent to crawl on the ground and tremble. The two were silent for a long time. The next moment, Shinsha looked coldly at Meng Shi. Meng Shi, this is not the ancient era, and Bloodmoor is not the territory of the Rabbitmen. The current Bloodmoor is my territory. Meng Shi was silent, and he turned to look at the border of Bloodmoor. Who would have thought that after countless years, the 6 races would unite and form an empire? Shinsha sneered. Times have changed, Meng Shi. Meng Shi retracted his gaze. His expression was cold and dignified as he looked at Shun Sha with his blood-red eyes. So, this is the reason why you're holed up here? Shun Sha's pupils constricted, and her expression became even colder. Her aura surged. However, she still did not attack directly. The current Meng Shi was much stronger than when he was awakened. If the two sides fought, the Desolate Blood Army would only benefit from it. She did not want to see that happen. Meng Shi saw Shin Sha's cold expression and sneered. He waved his right hand, and Meng Sheng and all the Blood Wolf Rabbitmen cavalry stepped forward. Their auras surged wildly. Killing intent filled the air. Sensing this killing intent, Shun Sha's expression was cold as she stared at the Blood King. Meng Shi, aren't you afraid that the Desolate Blood Army will benefit from our battle? Meng Shi smiled. They won't know. Kill. Meng Shi waved his blood-red scepter, and all the Blood Wolf Rabbitman knights charged towards the Blood Demon. Meng Shi also charged towards Shinsha. A powerful aura surged within the blood mist. Shinsha glanced at the blood mist, and her expression changed slightly. So it's this blood mist. It can actually block detection. Mother, give the order. Seeing the Rabbitmen Wolf Riders charging over, all the blood ghosts were already impatient. Shinsha's lips curled into a cold and enchanting smile. If that's the case, how can I not accept it? She was originally worried that the battle here would be discovered and attract the Desolate Blood Army. The Desolate Blood Army also had Saint-level experts. If they were ambushed, the losses would not be small. Now, since Meng Shi had taken the initiative to attack, How could she hesitate? Bloodmore could only belong to her. Kill! Roar! The Blood Sons and the other Blood Ghosts roared excitedly and charged towards the Blood Wolf Knights. Boom! Tens of thousands of experts fought at the same time, and the terrifying shockwaves from the battle turned into a violent gale that spread in all directions. However, the shockwaves and sound waves did not travel far in the blood mist before calming down. Looking from outside the blood mist, it was completely peaceful. When the battle started, the blood demons and blood ghosts that were trembling on the ground suddenly revealed a terrified expression and ran out of the blood mist. The battle between the two sides was extremely fierce, and blood and severed limbs splattered everywhere. However, while everyone was immersed in the battle, the blood that fell on the ground turned into a blood mist and merged with the original blood mist. In the distance, Meng Shi, who was fighting with Shun Sha, had an evil glint in his eyes. Bloody Rose Hotel. Mo Xiao Bai, Su Yin, Natsu Qi, and Yin Shui talked about the desolate god. After thinking for a long time, they still could not figure out why the remnant realm of the unbounded wilderness would be next to the void realm. Su Yin scratched her head. Forget it. Let's not think about it. Natsu Qi nodded. Okay, let's wash up and sleep. Who knows, the blood tide might come tomorrow. At the mention of the blood tide, their expressions turned serious. They nodded and began to wash up. Mo Xiao Bai returned to his room and sat cross-legged on his bed. He sensed the power of blood around him, and an excited smile appeared in his eyes. As expected, the power of blood in Bloodmore is very strong. Mo Xiao Bai came to the desolate Blood City not only to resist the blood tide, but also for another important reason. That was to evolve his Blood Origin Battle Body. The Blood Origin Battle Body required a lot of blood power, and transcendent items with blood power were rare and precious. Even though Mo Xiao Bai had been cultivating the Blood Origin Battle Body every day during this time, his progress was not very smooth. There was still a long way to go to the second level. However, it was different now. Even the power of blood in the desolate Blood City was so strong. When the blood tide came, he would kill the blood ghosts and blood fiends and absorb their blood power. Then his Blood Origin Battle Body would definitely improve quickly in a short time. Mo Xiao Bai even began to look forward to the arrival of the blood tide. Battle runes needed to be strengthened by battle, so he could not cultivate it in a short time. Mo Xiao Bai cultivated the Blood Origin Battle Body and closed his eyes to rest. Under the dim night sky in Bloodmore, outside the blood fog, a group of scouts was carefully probing the inside. The leader was the Night Creature Man who had made a military order in the memory. At this moment, the Night Creature Man's face was dark. He held two pitch-black short swords in both hands and vigilantly sensed the situation around him. Behind him, the experts of the scouts spread out to explore. Right then, the Night Creature Man's expression changed slightly. He raised his right hand, and the group stopped. He crawled on the ground and pressed his ear to the ground, listening carefully. After a few breaths, his expression changed drastically, and he crawled up from the ground. He raised his head and looked in the direction of the thick blood fog. With his cultivation and vision, he could only see a few kilometers ahead. In the distance, it was blood red. But now, he looked into the depths of the blood fog with a grim expression. The Night Creature Man's grim expression caused all the scouts to tense up. The next moment, the Night Creature Man saw layers of black figures appear in the blood-red blood fog. Boom, boom, boom. Other booms sounded as though thousands of troops were charging. The Night Creature Man's expression changed drastically. Go back and inform the desolate Blood City. The blood tide is here. Chapter 266. Under the night sky. Outside the desolate Blood City. The desolate Blood Army was on the city wall, looking at the bloody wilderness in the distance. Captain, when will the blood tide come? A desolate Blood Army soldier looked at the desolate bloody wilderness in the night sky and couldn't help but scratch his head. The barbarian captain glared at the desolate Blood Army soldier who spoke. Don't talk. Watch carefully. The desolate Blood Army soldier who spoke shrunk his neck and didn't dare to speak. At this moment, a voice sounded. Look, what's that? Hearing this, all the desolate blood army soldiers on the city wall turned to look in the direction of the bloody wilderness. The next moment, they saw a few figures approaching quickly in the silent, bloody wilderness under the night sky. The desolate blood army soldiers widened their eyes. Are they scouts? Soon, a few figures approached. The leader of the night creatures gathered his force and shouted at the city wall, "The blood tide is coming. Inform the general. Prepare to resist the blood tide." Hearing this, all the desolate blood army soldiers held their breaths. In the next moment, the person in charge on the city wall reacted. "Open the city gate and let the scouts in. Inform the general. Ring the bell." Orders were issued one after another in an orderly manner. The desolate blood army began to get busy. Clang, clang, clang. The sound of the bell rang on the desolate blood city. What? The bell rang. "The blood tide is coming. Get up. Prepare to defend." Bloody Rose Hotel. Not long after Mo Xiaobai lay down, he heard the bell ring. He opened his eyes abruptly, jumped up from the bed, and rushed out of the room. In the hall, Su Yin, Nat Su Qi, and Yin Shui also rushed out of the room. The four of them looked at each other. Nat Su Qi said with a solemn expression, "The alarm has rung. It seems that the blood tide is coming. Let's go out." Su Qi nodded and said. The four of them walked out of the room and went downstairs. They found that many people had already arrived in the hall downstairs. And Mo Xiaobai looked around and realized that most of the people from the various families had already arrived. Moreover, the leaders of each family were not young, and their auras were incomparably powerful experts. At that moment, even they had grave expressions on their faces. "Go to the city wall. Go and support the guards." One by one, the experts ran toward the city wall. Some powerful body fundamentalists above 7 apertures even took to the air and flew toward the city wall. Mo Xiaobai and the rest followed the crowd and ran towards the city walls. On the city walls, the desolate blood army looked in the direction of the bloody wilderness with grave expressions. Under the night sky, their vision was blocked to a certain extent. However, not long after, everyone heard the rumbling of the ground. Boom, 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 boom. The ground shook slightly, and even the people on the city walls could feel it. Everyone's breathing stagnated, and their eyes widened as they looked into the distance. Not long after, black shadows appeared under the night sky. Under the starlight, they looked somewhat ferocious. The demons danced chaotically. The leader of the desolate blood army opened his eyes wide and roared. "The beast tide is here. Light the beacons. Prepare to defend." The beacons were lit on the beacon towers. Soon, the entire city wall was lit with beacons one after another, extending to the horizon. At that moment, experts descended from the sky one after another. Among them was the commander of the desolate blood army. Yin Shi did not say anything and looked directly into the distance. In the bloody wilderness, blood fiends and blood ghosts squeezed together and charged toward the desolate blood city crazily. All the blood fiends and blood ghosts had bloodshot eyes, as if they had lost their minds. They squeezed together, and some of the slower blood ghosts and blood fiends were even crushed by the ones behind them. They died abnormally miserable deaths. Yin Shi frowned slightly as he looked at the large number of blood fiends and blood ghosts that resembled a blood tide. The group of experts beside Yin Shi also looked in the direction of the blood tide. There's a lot of blood tide this time. Everyone's expression changed. They had never seen so many blood fiends and blood ghosts attacking together. Yin Shi looked at the roaring blood fiends and blood ghosts, and his frown deepened. There's something wrong with these blood fiends and blood ghosts. Everyone's expression changed when they heard Yin Shi's words. They focused their gazes and discovered that wisps of bloody mist were circulating around the bodies of all the blood ghosts and blood beasts. At the same time, all the blood fiends and blood ghosts had auras that far exceeded their original levels. This is the aura of blood mist. These blood fiends and blood ghosts have been affected by the blood mist. They become much stronger and more violent. What exactly is that blood mist? Everyone's expression turned even uglier. Yin Shi heaved a sigh of relief. "Everyone, lead the troops to the various defense lines. Don't let a single area go. Don't let these beasts cross the bloody wall. Yes. Yin Shi turned his head to look at the human male behind him and said, Supervisor you, I'll have to trouble you to discuss the arrangements of the adventurers with the captains. Supervisor you nodded. No problem. After the experts left, Ing Shuafei, who was next to Yin Shi, looked around and said softly, Brother Qi, Shuer is here. Hearing this, Yin Shi paused slightly. Why is that girl here? When did she come? She just arrived yesterday. Little Yin came with her. She just informed me, but I didn't have time to tell you because you were too busy. Yin Shi frowned. Little Yin is here too? Tell her to keep an eye on you. Ing Shuafei nodded. Then she thought of something. All right, that kid called Mo Xiaobai is here too. He came with Shuer. The corner of Yin Chi's mouth twitched. After a moment of silence, he took a deep breath. Just nice. I can use this blood tide to observe that kid. Humph. Let's see if that kid is really as talented as the legends say. Ing Shuafei smiled and nodded. That's what I thought too. Mo Xiaobai and the others were running toward the city wall. However, as soon as they approached the city wall, they were stopped. All adventurers, please gather here. This blood tide covers a large area. Please cooperate with the Desolate Blood Army to resist it. All adventurers, please gather here. We will allocate the defensive areas. We have to allocate the defensive areas? One by one, the powerhouses stopped and frowned. Let's go and take a look. One by one, the adventurers came to the open space. Then, the Desolate Blood Army checked their cultivation and assigned them to different areas. Perhaps because time was tight, the Desolate Blood Army was very efficient. Soon, it was Mo Xiaobai and the others' turn. The leading human man glanced at everyone. After seeing Yin Shui, he was stunned. Then, he said with a smile, Since you're all geniuses from aristocratic families, your defensive area will be wider. Are you all willing? The leading barbarian man from the Gong family grinned. His eyes flashed with determination. Leave it to us. The human man nodded. Then, from the desolate Blood City to the northern city wall area with 60 sections, I'll leave it to you. What? So many? Apart from the disciples of the aristocratic families, everyone who heard this was shocked and cried out in surprise. One had to know that the teams that received the defensive area only had 23 sections at most. The number of people here was even less than that team. Who would have thought that they would be responsible for such a large defensive area? Chapter 267. This way, please. The Desolate Blood Army in charge of distribution led Mo Xiaobai and the others in the direction they were heading. Mo Xiaobai and the others followed the Desolate Blood Army's lead and went up the city wall. A section of the blood wall was about 3 kilometers long. 60 sections of the wall was about 200 kilometers long. Under the blood tide, even a 1-kilometer radius was considered very wide, let alone 200 kilometers. However, the blood wall didn't only depend on the adventurers. In fact, the main force was the Desolate Blood Army. The city wall was about 100 meters wide and was filled with Desolate Blood Army soldiers wearing blood-colored armor. Welcome. Thank you for your help. After Mo Xiaobai and the others came up, the leading Desolate Blood Army officer saluted Mo Xiaobai and the others. The leader of the Yin family was Yin Yin. She was the prodigy from a Yin family who appeared when Mo Xiaobai was attacked by the Shadow Servant in northern Blue City. She was also Mo Xiaobai Sr. When Mo Xiaobai and the others first came to the Bloody Rose, Yin Yin didn't seem to be around. She was probably in a meeting. This was the first time Mo Xiaobai saw her. She smiled at the Desolate Blood Army officer. It's my duty. As she spoke, she glanced at the experts from the other families who were leading the teams. They were all at least 7 chakra experts. Each family will be responsible for a section. The Mu family, Yin family, Gong family, Bai family, Shi family, and Gongsun family will be responsible for 2 sections each. The families began to assign the defense tasks. Suing glanced at Mo Xiaobai. Xiaobai, who will you defend with us? Mo Xiaobai was stunned when he heard Su Yin's words. He glanced at the 3 of them. After thinking for a while, Mo Xiaobai smiled and said, I'll follow Shui Xiaobai. I'll follow Little Snow. Her cultivation is the lowest. I can take care of her. Yin Shui pouted when she heard Emo Xiao Bai's words. She muttered unhappily, I'm not weak. I'm not that weak. However, there was still a hint of joy in her eyes. Natsu Ki and Su Yin were not surprised. Both of them nodded their heads. Natsu Ki smiled. Then you have to take good care of Xiao Shui. Be careful too. Emo Xiao Bai nodded. Yeah, you guys too. Be careful. At this moment, the corner of Mu Senlin's mouth twitched. Cough. I'm here too. Only then did Emo Xiao Bai remember this guy. He reached out and patted Emo Xiao Bai on the shoulder. Oh, be careful in the forest. Forest, black lines appeared on his forehead. He felt that Emo Xiao Bai was being perfunctory. Boom, 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 boom. The blood tide in the distance was getting closer and closer, and it had even reached the city walls. Even from the top of the city wall, one could feel the impact of the huge blood demon running. Elementalist. Archer. Prepare your suppressive fire. Origin cannons. Fire. Roar, 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 roar. Orders and roars rang out one after another. Origin power stirred the nearby air. Under the pitch-black night sky, all kinds of origin power flashed. Boom, boom, boom. The rumbling was like thunder, and it did not stop. All right, it's begun. Everyone, get to your positions. Gong family, follow me. Gong Sun family, come with me and help the brothers of the Desolate Blood Army. Mu family, Su family. The powerhouses of the major families who had already been assigned to their positions called out to their people to follow them. Yin Yin's gaze swept across the Yin family, and her beautiful face became colder. People of the Yin family, follow me. Yes, Yin Shui, Emo Xiao Bai, Yin Jing, Yin Long, Yin Song, and more than 100 powerhouses of the Yin family followed the passage on the city wall and rushed to their positions. The positions they needed to defend were the 9th and 10th sections, which were more than 6 kilometers in total. Along the way, Emo Xiao Bai's gaze swept across the city wall near the bloody wilderness. The Desolate Blood Army, who had long-range origin skills, were constantly firing them downwards. Every set distance, there would be a giant origin cannon erected. Origin power gathered at the muzzles of the cannons, and the rumbling sound echoed through the night sky. Every time, the cannons would explode in the bloody wilderness. Emo Xiao Bai could not see the situation below the city wall clearly. However, Emo Xiao Bai looked into the distance. Even on the horizon, there was a blood tide surging. Those were all blood fiends and vampires. They were densely packed, and there was no end to them. Low growls and roars filled the entire bloody wilderness. Yin Shui looked at the blood tide in the distance, and her face was slightly pale. So many blood fiends and vampires. Yin Long's body could not help but tremble slightly. Is this the blood tide? This is the first time I've seen so many enemies. Yin Jing felt his mouth go dry, and he swallowed with difficulty. How many blood fiends and blood fiends are there? Millions? Tens of millions? Hundreds of millions? Yin Jing, Yin Long, and Yin Song were only at the 4th aperture. This was also their first time defending against a blood tide. They were a little frightened. Not only them, but even Yin Yin and the other Yin family experts who were at least at the 7th aperture had serious expressions. Damn it, the blood tide this time is too big. What's going on? I don't know. There are too many of them. I don't know if we can stop them. Everyone had a worried look in their eyes. Only Emo Xiao Bai remained silent. At this moment, he was a little shaken. The smell of blood spread in the sky and gradually became stronger. What corresponded to that was the boundless power of his blood. It was many times stronger than when they were in the hotel. This was not enough. Emo Xiao Bai glanced in the direction of the blood tide. When they reached the defensive zone and started killing blood fiends and vampires, he began cultivating the blood origin war body. His cultivation speed would not be slow. We're here. At this moment, Yin Yin suddenly spoke. Emo Xiao Bai and the others came back to their senses. Only then did they realize that they had reached their defensive zone. Xiao Bing, fire the cannons. Fire the cannons. Aim at the crimson blood scorpions. Don't let them attack us. Suppress them with fire. Team 2, retreat and rest. Use the force potion to recover. Team 3, hold them off. Brothers, hold them off. We must not let these beasts cross the blood wall. A night creature man stood on the high platform and looked in the direction of the battlefield, roaring at the top of his lungs. Yin Yin walked up to the night creature man who was in charge and said, "Sir, we're the adventurers in charge of the defense." The night creature man looked back at Mo Xiao Bai and the others. After seeing everyone's cultivation, his eyes lit up and he smiled in surprise. "You're here at the right time. There are many 6-stage blood fiends in the blood tide. We can only suppress them now. If they get close to the wall, we'll be in trouble." Hearing this, Yin Yin nodded. "Don't worry, leave it to us. As for the others, attack on your own. If you run out of force, retreat. You can go to the quartermaster behind to get replenishment potions." The night creature man pointed at the quartermasters who were distributing potions to the desolate blood army not far away. Mo Xiao Bai and the others nodded. "Then let's go too." Mo Xiao Bai narrowed his eyes in anticipation. Chapter 268. After hearing Mo Xiao Bai's words, Yin Xuan naturally had no objections. She nodded. "Okay." Yin Yin glanced at Mo Xiao Bai and smiled. "Junior Xiao Bai, long time no see." Mo Xiao Bai also smiled and nodded. "Senior Yin Yin, long time no see indeed. I heard that your combat strength has improved a lot. Later, please take care, Xiao Shui." Mo Xiao Bai nodded. "Don't worry, I will." The other members of the Yin family, apart from the 4 apertured experts who came from the remnant realm of the unbounded wilderness with Mo Xiao Bai and the others. There were also some 5 apertured and 6 apertured experts who looked at Mo Xiao Bai curiously. Most of them had heard of Mo Xiao Bai. However, this was their first time meeting him. Naturally, they were curious about whether Mo Xiao Bai was as powerful as the rumors said. Although the desolate blood army had a large number of soldiers, they were stationed in a wide area. Therefore, the desolate blood army did not stand close together. The commanding officer directly ordered the desolate blood army to give some space to Mo Xiao Bai and the others. It was convenient for them to defend together and reduce the pressure on the desolate blood army. Mo Xiao Bai and Yin Shui quickly arrived at the city wall. It was only then that Mo Xiao Bai and the others saw the situation below the city wall. Countless blood fiends and blood ghosts were crazily charging toward the city wall. Batches of blood ghosts and blood fiends were attacked by the desolate blood army and the origin cannons. Even so, they did not stop at all. At the same time, many blood ghosts and blood fiends with long-range attacks were constantly attacking the desolate blood army on the city wall. Most of the attacks had dissipated by the time they reached the city wall, and the remaining attacks were basically blocked. The desolate blood army's losses were extremely small. However, below the city wall, the corpses of blood ghosts and blood fiends began to pile up. At this moment, the corpses had piled up to a height of nearly 10 meters. There were too many blood ghosts and blood fiends. Mo Xiao Bai did not doubt that the corpses of blood ghosts and blood fiends could pile up on the city wall. At that time, it would be the most dangerous time. Now was not the time to think about this. Mo Xiao Bai took a deep breath. Feeling the rich power of the blood, his eyes flashed with blood. "Let's begin." The blood origin battle body began to operate in his body. Wisps of faint red mist began to appear in the air, surging towards Mo Xiao Bai and merging into his body. His blood origin battle body, which had been slow to cultivate, began to improve rapidly. All the experts could sense Mo Xiao Bai's movements. They looked at Mo Xiao Bai in shock. When they saw the wisps of blood-colored mist fuse into Mo Xiao Bai's body, and at the same time, Mo Xiao Bai's aura seemed to change, everyone's expression changed. Is he using the power of blood to cultivate? What kind of origin skill is this? It can actually absorb such violent blood energy? Aren't you afraid of the backlash? There's something wrong with these blood ghosts and blood fiends. Their blood energy is even more violent. We'll be okay. Yin Yin frowned slightly, somewhat worried. It would be fine if the blood energy within transcendent materials like blood crystals was mild. However, the blood energy within these blood ghosts and blood fiends was violent to begin with. Moreover, for some reason, these blood ghosts and blood fiends were acting strangely. The blood energy was even more violent. None of the powerhouses here had expected Mo Xiao Bai to directly absorb it like this. Was he not afraid of death? Yin Shui had already taken out her ice crystal bow and was about to attack when she saw Mo Xiao Bai's movements. She turned to look at him. She glanced at the faint red mist around Mo Xiao Bai, a trace of worry flashing through her eyes. Xiao Bai, are you okay absorbing it like this? Mo Xiao Bai absorbed the blood energy and sensed the improvement of his blood origin battle body. He turned to look at the worried Yin Shui and smiled. Don't worry, I'm fine. As he spoke, the light of Akatsuki appeared in his right hand. In the air, a silver-white sword formation of the void appeared. Clang, 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 clang. Streaks of sword radiance shot out of the sword formation of the void. More than 200 streaks of sword radiance charged toward the blood ghosts and blood fiends below. Chi, chi, chi. Fresh blood spurted out. The charging blood ghosts and blood fiends all fell to the ground heavily, their vitality dissipating. With just one sweep of the sword radiance, hundreds of blood ghosts and blood fiends were killed. The ground in front of Mo Xiao Bai was cleared. Hiss! Everyone gasped when they saw Mo Xiao Bai's attack. Their pupils constricted violently. So powerful. Is this Mo Xiao Bai's strength? It feels like he's stronger than me. A five-apertured expert from the Yin family was in disbelief. As a member of the Yin family, he was a genius. His cultivation was one realm higher than Mo Xiao Bai's. However, he realized that he couldn't do what Mo Xiao Bai did. This was a member of the Yin family. They were already mentally prepared for Mo Xiao Bai's strength. The desolate blood army at the side was dumbfounded. They looked at the streaks of sword radiance in the air, their eyes almost popping out. All the desolate blood army looked at Mo Xiao Bai in a daze. Was this the attack of a two-apertured, four-apertured guy? Was this for real? While the desolate blood army was stunned, the blood ghosts and blood fiends below did not react at all. Their eyes flashed with blood-red light, and their auras were violent. They stepped on the corpses of their fallen comrades and continued to charge toward the city wall. The commanding officer of the human guards immediately came to his senses. He quickly roared, "Don't just stand there. Continue to attack. Attack now. Don't let those bastards come up." The desolate blood army finally came to their senses. "Brothers, do your best. We can't let those little guys go down. Bring out all your strength." The captains of the desolate blood army also roared. At this moment, their faces were filled with excitement and excitement. With a powerhouse like Mo Xiao Bai, they could definitely stop the blood tide. "You brats, work harder too. You're from the Yin family. Don't embarrass the Yin family." Yin Yin glanced at Mo Xiao Bai in shock, then retracted his gaze and spoke to the cultivators of the Yin clan. The Yin family's powerhouses naturally looked unconvinced. "Brothers, our cultivation is so much higher than the Murphy brothers. Don't fall behind in killing the enemies." "Yeah, watch me. How can I lose?" The Yin family's powerhouses with 5 apertures and 6 apertures also launched various powerful attacks. Yin Shui looked at Mo Xiao Bai and also drew her ice crystal longbow. Flowers of ice flames bloomed in the night sky. Boom, 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 boom. Under this wave of attacks, thousands of blood ghosts and blood fiends died, and rich blood energy flowed out. Mo Xiao Bai smiled and continued to absorb the power of the blood. The blood source war body was activated, and the blood in his body began to boil and improve at an extremely fast speed. In just this wave, his blood source war body at the second level increased by nearly 10%. Chapter 269. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. Mo Xiao Bai was overjoyed when he sensed the rapid improvement of his blood source battle body. Without hesitation, he controlled the void sword radiance to kill the blood ghosts and blood fiends. Under the night sky, The void sword radiance was like a silver-white thread that swam around continuously. It looked exceptionally beautiful. However, there was a great danger hidden under that beauty. The blood ghosts and blood fiends were dismembered before they could even get close to the city wall. Their blood dyed the ground red, and their corpses were trampled into meat paste by the blood ghosts and blood fiends. 1,000, 2,000, 3,000. The number of blood ghosts and blood fiends killed by Mo Shao kept increasing. The faint power of blood was also attracted and surrounded Mo Shao Bai. The Yin family's experts and the desolate blood army looked at Mo Shao Bai as if they were looking at a monster. The corner of Yin Jing's mouth twitched. Murphy brothers, aren't you tired? Yin couldn't bear to watch any longer. She looked at Mo Shao Bai worriedly. Yeah, Junior Shao Bai, you've been using powerful origin skills all this time. Aren't you tired? Do you want to take a break? Mo Shao Bai was happily feeling the improvement of his blood source battle body. When he heard their words, he was stunned. He smiled and said, Don't worry, I'm not tired at all. Logically speaking, Mo Shao Bai's void sword radiance was almost 8 times the original. In addition, the improvement of his cultivation also depended on the quality of his origin power from the desolate god's inheritance. If he only used the void sword formation now, it wouldn't be a problem for him to last a few hours. Even if he used up all his origin power, he would be full again after resting for 10 minutes or so. He wouldn't panic at all. Everyone, seeing Mo Shao Bai's nonchalant expression, they didn't know what to say. Yin's mouth twitched. Fine, you're awesome. She didn't want to talk anymore. His junior brother was a pervert. At this moment, the blood mist around Mo Shao Bai shook, and his whole body flashed with a bloody radiance. Swish, swish, swish. The sound of fresh blood flowing through Mo Shao Bai's body was like a tidal wave, ringing in everyone's ears. At the same time, everyone could feel that Mo Shao Bai's aura had increased significantly. Everyone's pupils shrank. This was especially true for 5 apertures and 6 apertures experts. They had already felt a great threat from Mo Shao Bai. Now, they even felt their scalps go numb and the hairs on their backs stand up. It was an extreme threat. Even Yin Shui, who knew Mo Shao Bai very well, couldn't help but look at Mo Shao Bai. Her icy blue eyes were filled with doubt and speechlessness. This guy had improved by a lot again. The gap between them had widened. Yin Yinren was a little silly. She stared blankly at Mo Shao Bai. After a moment of silence, she opened her mouth. Junior brother Shao Bai, Mo Shao Bai saw everyone's stupefied expressions and smiled embarrassedly. It's nothing. My body tempering origin skill improved a little, so my strength increased a little. Everyone, when they heard Mo Shao Bai's words, they almost vomited blood. There was an improvement just like that. Also, were you sure this was called a little improvement? Everyone felt like they were about to split open. Mo Shao Bai saw everyone's incredulous expressions and felt a little awkward. All right, he had improved a lot. He himself was a little excited. The Blood Origin Battle Body was a legendary body-tempering origin skill. After breaking through to the second stage, his physical strength would increase by 2 times. How strong was his physical strength? It was comparable to a rank 5 commander. Now that his physical strength had increased, his combat strength would naturally increase to a terrifying level. As expected, the blood energy here was too dense. Mo Shao Bai was excited. He hoped that he could complete the Blood Origin Battle Body during this blood wave. Roar! In the distance, the empty area where the Blood Ghost and Blood Beast had died was filled again. The roar pulled everyone back to reality. They didn't want to see Mo Shao Bai anymore. Continue to kill the enemy. Brothers, hold on. One by one, the desolate blood army and Yin family prodigies turned their grief and anger into strength. They vented all their envy and jealousy of Mo Shao Bai on the blood ghosts and blood beasts. Roar! Roar! Screech! At this moment, some powerful auras approached the bottom of the city wall. Mo Shao Bai saw streaks of dark gray and black lines of misfortune approaching quickly. When they arrived at the bottom of the city wall, streaks of origin power surged and attacked the city wall. Feeling the powerful threat from the origin power attacks, the expressions of the Desolate Blood Army and Yin family experts changed. Careful, it's the strongest of the blood ghosts and blood fiends. It's the chieftains and commanders, rank 5 and rank 6. Dozens of attacks came one after another. There were too many blood ghosts and blood beasts. There were even quite a few chieftains and commanders. Moreover, under the influence of the blood mist, their strength was greatly increased. The attacks became even more terrifying. The 6 apertures experts of the Yin family and some Desolate Blood Army experts stepped forward and arrived at the city wall. "Bastard, you're courting death." A handsome young man from a Yin family waved his sword with a cold expression. An icy blue sword ray rushed out and collided with a blood-red pillar of light. Boom! There was a loud explosion, and the violent origin power surged in the air. Not far away, there was also a terrifying explosion. All the chieftains' and commanders' attacks were blocked. Roar! Below the city wall, the peak rank 6 blood ghost chieftain glanced at the city wall. Blood mist surged in his blood-red eyes. He roared and led the chieftains and commanders. Stepping on the mountain of corpses, he charged hundreds of meters up toward the city wall. Dense killing intent and blood chi surged toward the people on the city wall like a tidal wave. The Desolate Blood Army and Yin family members with low cultivation paled and felt their chests tighten. Even Yin Shue's face was slightly pale. Seeing this, Mo Xiao Bai pulled Yin Shue behind him and stood in front of Yin Shue. Yin Shue glanced at Mo Xiao Bai's broad back and was stunned. The next moment, the corners of her mouth curled up slightly, and her pretty face blushed. "Block it! Don't let them get on the city wall." A 6 apertures Desolate Blood Army officer held a battle axe and roared in a low voice. If these blood ghosts and blood beasts were allowed to get on the city wall, it would be a disaster for the ordinary Desolate Blood Army and Yin family members with low cultivation. Mo Xiao Bai, who was standing beside the city wall, realized that he had been targeted. A blood shadow cat and a blood ghost rushed toward Mo Xiao Bai. One was a peak 5 apertures chieftain, and the other was a peak 5 apertures chieftain. Moreover, their auras were much stronger than those of ordinary peak 5 apertures chieftains and chieftains. Even the chieftain blood shadow cat's strength was close to that of chieftain. This was ridiculous. Mo Xiao Bai gripped his heavy sword tightly and widened his eyes slightly as he looked at the blood mist around them. What the hell was this blood mist? Roar! Meow! A ferocious aura swept toward them. When the 6 apertures chieftains saw this scene, their expressions changed slightly. Be careful. Chapter 270. Not far away, Yin Yin saw Mo Xiao Bai being attacked. Her expression changed slightly, and she was about to intervene. Boom! At this moment, a powerful aura surged around Mo Xiao Bai, and the heavy sword in his right hand burned with golden light. His left hand was clenched into a fist, and a terrifying bronze fist energy surged around it. Clang! Roar! The sound of a sword and a dragon's roar rang out. Sky Baron breath slash. Great Desolation Dragon Fist. A golden sword light streaked across the night sky, and also slashed through the Blood Shadow Cat's body. The Blood Shadow Cat's body instantly froze on the spot. On the other side, the bronze dragon-shaped fist energy poured into the Blood Wraith's body, and it also froze on the spot. In the next moment, the Blood Shadow Cat's body slowly split into 2 halves, and its corpse and blood fell from the sky. The Blood Wraith's eyes widened, and the bloody light in its eyes dimmed. Boom! The Blood Wraith's body was blasted into a bloody mist, and the aftershock of the battle blew away the bloody mist. In the distance, Yin Yin's eyes widened, and she slowly withdrew her hand. A trace of shock flashed through her eyes. This guy is really abnormal. The nearby 7 apertures experts nodded, dumbfounded. Agreed. Agreed +1. Agreed +2. Boom, 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 boom. Explosions rang out once again. The other blood fiends and blood ghosts clashed with the 5 apertures and 6 apertures experts. Explosions rang out once again. Most of the blood fiends and blood ghosts were blasted away, but there were still a few that were extremely powerful. They actually forced the desolate blood army and Yin family experts back a few steps, revealing their foothold. Roar! Seeing their opponents being pushed back, the blood fiends and blood ghosts let out excited roars. Just as they were about to climb up the city walls, Yin Yin and the others snorted. Dying! Powerful origin power and 7 apertures surged, and all the blood fiends and blood ghosts were sent flying. While in the air, the blood fiends and blood ghosts turned into corpses. A surprise attack organized by the leader, and the leader was resolved in an instant. Everyone let out a sigh of relief. Even Emo Xiao Bai was the same. A peak 6 apertures leader was too strong. With his current strength, he might be able to contend with an ordinary peak 6 apertures leader. However, he was still no match for the leader who had been strengthened by the blood mist. Fortunately, Yin Yin and the others were here. After everyone heaved a sigh of relief, the 5 apertures and 6 apertures experts standing at the front all turned to look at Emo Xiao Bai. They had all seen how Emo Xiao Bai had instantly killed a leader and a leader with just 2 attacks. The leader, who was at the peak of the 5 apertures realm, was so powerful that none of the 5 apertures realm experts present had the confidence to kill him, let alone kill him instantly. On the other hand, Emo Xiao Bai was only at 4 apertures level 2. Pervert. Monster. This guy is too strong. The experts of the Yin family were now convinced. The experts of the Desolate Blood Army looked at Emo Xiao Bai with respect. To them, the strong and talented were naturally worthy of respect. Don't just stand there. Continue to defend. Although Emo Xiao Bai's performance had shocked everyone present, the blood tide did not stop. The commander continued to roar. The experts of the Desolate Blood Army and the Yin family began to kill the blood tide again. At this moment, Emo Xiao Bai was pleasantly surprised. The dozens of leaders and leaders of the blood tide had died. The rich blood energy was much stronger than that of the ordinary and elite-level vampires and blood beasts. Emo Xiao Bai absorbed the rich blood energy, and his blood origin battle body's progress soared by 1/3. A hint of joy flashed in his eyes. If this continued, it would not take long for his blood origin battle body to advance again. The blood tide continued to attack. The experts of the Desolate Blood Army and the adventurers kept attacking and taking turns to defend. They were barely able to resist the attacks. At the same time, the body fundamentalists of 7 apertures and above had yet to make a move. Their targets were level 7 vampires and blood beasts. Now is not the time to consume force. After more than 10 minutes, the commander roared, Team 3, retreat and rest. Quickly recover your force. Team 4, take over. When the Desolate Blood Army around Emo Xiao Bai and the others heard the order, they did not hesitate and immediately retreated. The moment they retreated, the new Desolate Blood Army took their place and began to kill the blood vampires and blood beasts. Yin Jing, who was beside Emo Xiao Bai, glanced at the Desolate Blood Army, then glanced at the endless blood tide below the city walls. He took a few deep breaths. Brothers, are you tired? In Yanlong's hand, a ball of blazing fire was thrown downwards. Boom! The fireball exploded, and the blood vampires and blood beasts within a 10-meter radius were blown away. He wiped the sweat off his forehead. I'm still okay. I can still hold on for a while. Brother Xiao Bai, what about you? Yin Song glanced at the hundreds of void sword auras circulating in the night sky. He gulped and looked at Emo Xiao Bai. Aren't you tired? The others also looked at Emo Xiao Bai. Logically speaking, this origin skill did not look ordinary. It was very likely to be an epic-grade origin skill. It was already very strange for a 4-apertured level 2 body fundamentalist to be able to use an epic-grade origin skill. But Emo Xiao Bai had used it continuously for 20 minutes. That cannot be explained by being strange. As soon as Yin Song finished speaking, Emo Xiao Bai, who was surrounded by a bloody mist, flashed with a dazzling bloody light again. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The blood tide spread out from Emo Xiao Bai's body, and his aura increased by another level. Everyone. A moment later, The bloody light on Mo Xiao Bai's body gradually calmed down. Mo Xiao Bai felt a powerful surge of energy in his body and was delighted. As expected, after absorbing so much blood energy, his strength increased too quickly. Blood Source Battle Body, Level 3. He calmed the violent energy in his body and felt the gazes from the side. Only then did he remember that Yin Song had been talking to him. He turned around and looked at Yin Song with some confusion. "Brother Song, what did you just say?" Yin Song, everyone else, the corner of his mouth twitched and his face stiffened into a smile. "No, nothing." Mo Xiao Bai scratched his head and waved his right hand. Hundreds of sword rays streaked across the night sky, killing another batch of blood fiends and vampires. Oh, to the side, Yin Shui looked at the uncomfortable faces of Yin Song and the others, then looked at the confused Mo Xiao Bai. She could not help but smile. When Mo Xiao Bai saw Yin Shui smile, he was stunned. "Little Shui, what's wrong? Why are you smiling?" The smile on Yin Shui's face froze. She rolled her eyes at Mo Xiao Bai and returned to her expressionless self. "Nothing. I see flames burned on the surface of her body." Ice dragons flickered in and out of the flames, and the faint roars of dragons could be heard. She was as beautiful as an ice dragon goddess. At the same time, the flowers of ice flames grew stronger. She finally understood. Mo Xiao Bai needed to absorb blood energy to cultivate his body-tempering origin skills. The more dead vampires and blood fiends, the better for him. She also increased the speed at which she killed the blood fiends and vampires. Chapter 271. Time passed. As the first ray of light pierced through the night sky, the sky brightened. As the sun rose, its light scattered across the bloody wilderness, sprinkling on the bloodbath city and the wall of blood. It illuminated the tragic battlefield. At this moment, the corpses of blood fiends and blood demons had piled up to half the height of the wall of blood. It was hundreds of meters tall. Fresh blood converged into a river, soaking the bloodbath wilderness outside the bloodbath city. The thick smell of blood was nauseating. The origin power undulations never stopped. Explosions rang out continuously as terrifying collisions and shock waves wreaked havoc on the wall of blood. On the city wall, the bloodbath army changed batches after batches. Every time they ran out of origin power, they would retreat to the rear to rest. Even the experts of the Yin family had rested several times already. Mo Xiao Bai, on the other hand, had been using the Void Sword aura to reap the lives of blood fiends and blood demons. The clear sword hum and the silver sword aura remained on the battlefield. It wasn't just Mo Xiao Bai's area. Even the distant defensive lines were looking over in surprise. On the bloodbath city, Yin Qi naturally hadn't slept the entire night. He had been monitoring the battlefield. His target was naturally the mother of blood devils, but he was also worried about the Blood King's surprise attack. At this moment, Yin Qi was looking at the terrifying sword aura dancing in the distance. He frowned slightly, somewhat puzzled. "Which expert is that over there? The sword aura has been there for several hours already, right? Although killing blood fiends and blood demons can reduce the pressure on our army, what if a powerful enemy comes? I'll go take a look." Ing Shuefei's eyebrows rose slightly as her body disappeared. The Wall of Blood, Western Section, 9th Section. The Bloodbath Army and Yin family experts were resting on a side far from the bloody wilderness. At this moment, everyone was drinking origin power recovery medicine and looking at the figures standing on the other side, dumbfounded. The corner of Yin Long's mouth twitched. "Is Brother Xiao Bai okay? It's been so long. He hasn't rested even once." "Yeah, it's been several hours already. The origin skill he used is so powerful. Is he really okay?" Yin Jing nodded. The others also nodded in agreement. They had rested 3 or 4 times. Who was like Mo Xiao Bai, who didn't rest for hours? "Xiao Shui, do you want to persuade him to rest?" A delicate-looking night creature woman looked at Mo Xiao Bai's back view with sparkling eyes. She was a 6-chakra genius from the Yin clan. She looked at Yin Shui, who was also resting, and spoke softly. "It won't be good if you tire yourself out. When Yin Shui saw the expression on the night creature woman's face, she immediately became vigilant. She had seen this look too many times. Yin Shui said indifferently, "It's fine. He knows what he's doing." In the distance, Yin Yin and several other experts above 7 apertures, who would only take action in times of crisis, looked at each other in dismay. A middle-aged expert from the Yin family was speechless. Is this guy really a level 2 4 apertures brat? The corners of the others' mouths twitched. One of the experts from the Yin family smiled bitterly. I originally thought that Miss Yin was already a peerless genius. I didn't expect to meet such a monster here. Yin Yin. She was speechless. Mo Xiaobai was a monster. What did it have to do with her? Why compare her to a monster like this? She felt very uncomfortable. Yin Yin silently glanced at the person who spoke. She would make things difficult for him when they returned. Yeah, when I was at his cultivation level, if I was 1/10 as strong as him, I would wake up laughing. Are you dreaming? You can use an epic grade origin skill when you're at level 2 4 apertures. You don't have to last long as you can use it. I'm willing to call you the strongest. Life is hard, so let's not talk about it, okay? Everyone was starting to doubt their lives. In the sky above the city wall, a light flashed, and Ying Shuefei appeared. She glanced at the city wall below and was stunned when she saw Yin Shui. Xiao Shui, this is the Yin clan's defensive area? Then this is? She muttered doubtfully and looked at the area where the sword aura had appeared. After seeing Mo Xiaobai, Ying Shuefei's eyes widened slightly. A trace of shock flashed across her eyes. It's this kid. The one who used an epic grade origin skill for so long is actually this kid. With Ying Shuefei's near saint level vision, she could naturally see the strength of the sword formation of the void. It was because of this that she was shocked that Mo Xiaobai could operate the sword formation of the void for so long with his cultivation level. She carefully looked at Mo Xiaobai, and the more she looked, the more shocked she became. His origin power is like the sea, and he can even absorb origin power from the void for his own use. His physical body is probably extremely strong as well. This kid, no wonder the old man thinks so highly of him. No wonder even the void god cult wants to get rid of him, and the demons are so afraid of him. He's cultivating a tide of blood. This what a powerful body tempering origin skill. Her face was full of shock. A legendary body tempering origin skill. This was the first time she had seen Mo Xiaobai in person. Only after seeing Mo Xiaobai did she understand why the demons wanted to kill Mo Xiaobai. The more she looked, the wider the smile on Ying Shuefei's face. She nodded in satisfaction. Not bad, not bad. She withdrew her gaze from Mo Xiaobai and turned to look at Yin Shui. After some hesitation, Ying Shuefei did not go down to see Yin Shui. Instead, she disappeared on the spot. After Ying Shuefei disappeared, Mo Xiaobai's primordial will seem to sense something. He frowned slightly and looked up at the sky. When he saw that there was nothing in the sky, he was somewhat puzzled. Was he wrong? Why did he feel like there was something there? At this moment, Mo Xiaobai's eyes lit up with joy. Wisps of bloody light flickered on the surface of his body. He could feel the blood in his body becoming more and more condensed. At the same time, his internal organs, especially his heart, were becoming stronger at an extremely fast speed. From the inside out, Mo Xiaobai's physical body began to become stronger at a crazy rate. Blood origin battle body, level 4. Mo Xiaobai exhaled, his breathing like a storm. He had finally broken through to level 4. From level 1 to level 2, it only took him a few minutes. From level 2 to level 3, it only took him a few dozen minutes. However, from level 3 to level 4, it took him a few hours. It was too difficult. Mo Xiaobai sighed inwardly. However, when he felt the powerful, surging power in his body, he felt that his hard work had paid off. His physical body had been strengthened 5-fold. At this moment, Mo Xiaobai's combat power was much stronger than it had been a few hours ago. There was almost no comparison. I wonder if I can defeat an overlord now. Mo Xiaobai thought back to the Azure Demon Overlord he had met last time. At this moment, Mo Xiaobai suddenly heard the sound of blood flowing in the distance. He was stunned and looked in the direction of the blood demons and blood demons. He was somewhat stunned. Chapter 272. Mo Xiaobai realized that he could feel the blood flow of the blood fiends and blood ghosts. He turned to look at the desolate blood army and the Yin family and used his heart to feel it. He realized that although he could feel the blood of some people who were not much stronger than him, he could not feel it as clearly as the blood fiends and blood ghosts. Was it because the blood fiends and blood ghosts had the power of blood? Mo Xiaobai was curious. However, a wisp of bloody light flashed in his pitch-black eyes, revealing a trace of eagerness. He would try to control the power of blood with the blood source battle body. Just as Mo Xiaobai was about to try, Yin Shui walked over. Xiaobai. Mo Xiaobai turned to look at Yin Shui. He saw that her face was rosy and her breathing was stable. He smiled. You've recovered? Yes. Yin Shui nodded slightly. Then, she looked at Mo Xiaobai worriedly. Aren't you going to rest? Mo Xiaobai looked at Yin Shui's worried face. He could not help but smile. Yin Shui saw the look in Mo Xiaobai's eyes and her face stiffened. She glared at him with a straight face. What are you looking at? If you don't want to rest, I'll leave you alone. Seeing Yin Shui's embarrassed and angry face, Mo Xiaobai felt satisfied. He smiled. I'll go and rest after I experiment with a new technique. A new technique? Yin Shui looked at Mo Xiaobai doubtfully. Mo Xiaobai nodded. He stretched out his left hand toward the blood fiends and blood ghosts below. A blood-red light flashed in his eyes. He clenched his fist. Thousands of blood fiends and blood ghosts froze on the spot. Boom! Their bodies suddenly exploded. Blood gushed out like flowers blooming on a bloody battlefield. Seeing this, Yin Shui's eyes widened and a trace of horror flashed across her eyes. The desolate blood army and Yin family experts were stunned when they saw thousands of blood fiends and blood ghosts explode. They turned their heads abruptly and looked at Mo Xiaobai. Their faces were pale, and their eyes were filled with shock, just like Yin Shui. What? What is this? Yin Shui turned to look at Mo Xiaobai. Mo Xiaobai waved his left hand. Strands of blood energy flowed on the battlefield and floated toward Mo Xiaobai. He turned to look at the shocked Yin Shui and said with a smile, My body-tempering origin skill has been cultivated to a certain level. I have a certain level of control over the blood of these blood ghosts and blood beasts. He glanced at the blood tide. Even though thousands of blood ghosts and blood fiends had died in an instant, the remaining blood ghosts and blood fiends continued to charge as if they did not see it. He narrowed his eyes and said, Of course. I can only do this to blood ghosts and blood fiends with lower cultivation than me. If they are of higher cultivation than me, it will only affect them slightly. However, Mo Xiaobai's effect on blood ghosts and blood fiends was many times greater than other living creatures. If it was a blood fiend, even a 6 or 7 orifices blood fiend would be severely affected. Mo Xiaobai had never tried it before, but he was curious. When Yin Shui heard this, a look of realization appeared on her face. Is this the body-tempering origin skill you're cultivating now? Mo Xiaobai had been cultivating on the battlefield. She was not blind. Of course, she could see it. Yes. Mo Xiaobai nodded. So powerful. Yin Shui looked at the battlefield and sighed in admiration. Then, she looked at Mo Xiaobai with some resentment. You've become stronger again. Mo Xiaobai smiled proudly. Of course. Are you jealous? Yin Shui. This bastard was still making her angry. Her chest heaved as she glared at Mo Xiaobai. Mo Xiaobai narrowed his eyes and rubbed Yin Shui's head. Yin Shui slapped Mo Xiaobai's hand away unhappily. Don't bother me. I'm going to kill the enemy. Mo Xiaobai smiled and nodded. Yes, good luck. I'm going to rest first. Logically speaking, he had only used half of his origin power. If he wanted to continue, he could still fight for a few more hours. However, there was no need for that. After resting for a few minutes, his origin power would be replenished. Yes, go ahead. Yin Shui nodded. Her beautiful face regained its calmness as ice flames burned on her body. Roar! A dragon's roar resounded. The shadow of an ice dragon was faintly discernible within the ice flames. Mo Xiaobai looked at Yin Shue's appearance. His gaze was gentle, as he couldn't help but praise her softly. So beautiful. When Yin Shui heard Mo Xiaobai's praise, her aura became chaotic and the origin power in her hands dispersed. She turned around and glared at Mo Xiaobai. When she saw Mo Xiaobai's gentle gaze, an indescribable feeling bloomed in her heart. Her beautiful face flushed red. Even her ears turned red. What are you talking about? Get lost. As she spoke, she angrily waved her ice crystal bow and was about to hit Mo Xiaobai. Mo Xiaobai laughed and ran away. Okay. I won't say any more. I'm leaving. Be careful. Everyone else was speechless as they watched Mo Xiaobai and Yin Shui play around. What the F asterisk CK? Isn't this a battlefield? Why do we have to eat dog food on the battlefield? This isn't human. The women from the Yin family and the Desolate Blood Army felt their hearts shatter when they saw Mo Xiaobai and Yin Shui play around. The higher-ups of the Desolate Blood Army were even more conflicted. If it weren't for this brat's glorious achievements, I would definitely throw him out. The human commander coldly snorted. He was extremely angry. That's right. What a scandal. Although they were angry, Mo Xiaobai's performance was too outstanding. The number of vampires and blood fiends he had killed alone was definitely the highest among all of them. Even a 6 apertures expert couldn't compare to him. What a joke. This guy hadn't rested for a few hours, and he was using such a powerful origin skill. Yin narrowed her eyes and looked at Yin Shui and Mo Xiaobai. She smiled. These two guys are progressing well. She glanced at Mo Xiaobai, and her eyes flashed. Mo Xiaobai left the front line and returned to the rear to rest. Brother Xiaobai, sit here. Yin Long greeted Mo Xiaobai warmly. Mo Xiaobai glanced and saw that Yin Long, Yin Song, and Yin Jing were also sitting together. They were also resting. Mo Xiaobai walked over and sat down. As soon as he sat down, Yin Jing smirked and poked Mo Xiaobai's shoulder. Not bad, Xiaobai. Looks like our Yin Jing's untouchable flower has been plucked by you. You'll be our brother-in-law in the future. They had seen Mo Xiaobai and Yin Shui fooling around just now. Mo Xiaobai smiled embarrassedly. To be honest, he didn't do it on purpose. It was mainly because Yin Shui was too beautiful that he blurted it out unknowingly. This was very awkward. However, if he said that he had no feelings for Yin Shui, Mo Xiaobai wouldn't go against his conscience. It was just that Sister Xiaodong and Sister Yin were also very attractive. Especially Sister Yin. The last time they were in Evil Frost City, although they were not in the right place, their relationship had taken a step further. Their relationship was even deeper than Little Shui and Sister Xiaodong's. Mo Xiaobai scratched his head. He didn't know what to do. Chapter 273. On the city wall of the Barren Blood City, Ying Xuefei appeared behind Yin Qi with a flash of light. Yin Qi wasn't surprised at all. He was still looking in the direction of the bloody wilderness and asked, "How is it? Who is it?" When Ying Xuefei heard this, she glanced at Yin Qi. She narrowed her eyes and smiled. "Someone you probably didn't expect. You definitely won't be able to guess." Yin Qi was taken aback. He turned to look at Ying Xuefei with curiosity in his eyes. "Could it be someone I know?" He thought for a moment and continued, How come I didn't know? How come I didn't know that I know someone who knows this sword array origin skill?" Ying Xuefei found it funny and said, "Although you know him, you've never seen him before." Yin Qi was even more dumbfounded. He glanced at Ying Xuefei, who seemed to be in a good mood, and smiled helplessly. "Xuefei, don't tease me. Who is it?" Ying Xuefei smiled at Yin Qi. "It's Mo Xiaobai." Yin Qi. His body stiffened, and his expression changed slightly. "Impossible. This sword array should be at the level of a 6-chakra expert, right? That kid can't be that strong." Ying Xuefei saw that even Yin Qi was surprised. She recalled the scene she saw earlier and couldn't help but sigh. If I hadn't seen it with my own eyes, I wouldn't have believed it was Mo Xiaobai either. Yin Qi frowned and fell silent. Then he slowly said, "That's right. His cultivation should only be at 4 apertures. Is it really him?" Fa rolled her eyes. "Why would I lie to you? Go see for yourself if you don't believe me." Shi saw that Fa was unhappy and quickly apologized. "I wouldn't dare. I won't doubt Fa's words. It's just, I'm too surprised." He glanced into the distance. The sword light had already disappeared, but he could still see the densely packed sword array. He narrowed his eyes. In such a short period of time, that brat has actually grown to such an extent. That's right. If he continues to grow at this rate, it won't be long before he'll be able to stand on his own and guard an entire abyss. Azure doesn't have much time left. If a new abyss appears, I hope he can hurry up. Shi sighed. Fa nodded. Then she smiled and said, "That's right. However, that kid's talent is a good match for Schwerer." Shi's expression froze. Let's talk about it later. Although he acknowledged Mo Xiaobai's talent, it wasn't good for his precious daughter to get married so early. Half an hour later, Mo Xiaobai stood up and said with a smile, "I've rested enough. I'm going to continue killing." So fast. Yin Long and the others were stunned. Can he recover so quickly? Why don't we rest for a while? That's right. You must have used up a lot of energy just now, right? Mo Xiaobai smiled inwardly. In fact, he was almost fully recovered after resting for less than 10 minutes. He just didn't want it to be too exaggerated, so he deliberately stayed here for a long time. Half an hour shouldn't be too exaggerated, right? It was 3 times slower than before. Mo Xiaobai smiled and said, "There's no need. I've fully recovered. The blood ghosts and blood beasts in the blood tide are getting stronger and stronger. I'll go help as soon as possible." Everyone, hearing Mo Xiaobai's words, everyone was shocked in their hearts. Mo Xiaobai had already given them enough shock. They all thought they were numb. In the end, it was all fake. Not to mention using an epic-grade origin skill for several hours. He recovered in just half an hour. Wasn't this too abnormal? Some of the desolate blood soldiers who were resting were extremely moved when they heard Mo Xiaobai's words. "Mr. Mo is so righteous. We've rested enough. We're willing to fight the blood tide with Mr. Mo to the death." The desolate blood soldiers stood up one by one, their eyes filled with passion. Mo Xiaobai was just an adventurer, but he was willing to risk his life to protect the blood wall. What about them? They were the guardians of the blood wall. They were the desolate blood soldiers. Mo Xiaobai also smiled when he saw the passion in everyone's eyes. "Then everyone, do your best." He turned and walked toward Yin Shui. The desolate blood soldiers returned to their posts, filled with passion. Some of the Yin family experts looked at each other and smiled bitterly. The Yin family experts stood up one by one. "I've rested enough. I'll go kill some enemies too. Brother Xiaobai is only at the 4 chakras realm. We're at the 5 or 6 chakras realm. We can't lose to him." "Indeed, I've rested enough too." Mo Xiaobai came to Yin Shui's side and glanced at Yin Shui. "How are you? Are you tired?" An ice dragon swirled in Yin Shui's right hand, and she pulled the bowstring. Roar! An ice dragon rushed out and crushed a group of blood ghosts and blood demons. The weaker blood ghosts and blood fiends were instantly crushed into ice shards. Although the stronger blood ghosts and blood fiends managed to block the attack, their bodies were also covered in frost. Due to that, their charging speed was greatly reduced. She exhaled slightly. "Fortunately, I can still continue." Mo Xiaobai looked at the determination in Yin Shui's ice blue eyes and nodded. "Okay, then you take care." As he spoke, he clenched his right hand toward the blood tide in the distance. Boom, boom, boom. The blood ghosts and blood demons instantly turned into blooming flowers of blood. Thousands of blood ghosts and blood demons died, and the battlefield was instantly emptied. The Blood Source War body had reached the 4th level. With the ability to control blood, it was extremely lethal against blood ghosts and blood demons with low cultivation. Although it consumed a lot of origin power and spiritual power, it was still acceptable. But to Mo Xiaobai, it was still acceptable. The killing efficiency also increased a notch once more. He waved his right hand, and strands of blood energy were drawn from the dead blood ghosts and blood demons, and they were absorbed by Mo Shao Bai. Screech! At this moment, a series of ferocious screeches came from the horizon. Everyone's expression changed as they looked up at the sky. Above the clear sky, a blood cloud was rapidly approaching. Strands of blood mist surged above the dark cloud, and its powerful aura made many people feel suffocated. As the blood cloud approached, Mo Shao Bai discovered that this blood cloud was formed by countless flying beasts. There were countless blood ghosts and blood demons from the 2nd to the 6th rank. In Mo Shao Bai's eyes, there were even pitch-black lines of misfortune within the dark cloud. There was more than one. Blood ghosts and blood demons of the 7th rank and above. Mo Shao Bai's heart trembled. Even such powerful blood ghosts and blood demons had appeared. Flying blood demons. Everyone pay attention. Defensive professions prioritize defending against the attacks in the sky. Long-range professions prioritize killing the flying blood demons. After seeing the blood cloud, the expressions of all the desolate blood armies commanders changed drastically, and they roared. Chapter 274. The flying blood fiends and blood ghosts were very fast. The blood cloud approached the wall of blood in a short period of time. Attack! The commander of the desolate blood army gave the order when the dense cloud of flying blood fiends and blood ghosts pressed down. The desolate blood army and adventurers who had long-range origin skills launched attacks at the sky. Screech! Roar! Under the tyrannical roar, the blood ghosts and blood fiends also launched attacks at the people below. Boom, 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 boom. In the sky, the dazzling origin power attacks collided. Continuous rumbling sounds rang out, as if thunder was rolling. The aftershocks wreaked havoc in the sky like a storm. Some of the attacks landed in the blood cloud, and the blood ghosts and blood fiends lost their vitality. Their corpses fell lifelessly to the ground. Some of the blood fiends and blood ghosts also attacked the desolate blood army. However, the nearby powerhouses also took action and neutralized these attacks. As the 7 Aperture's powerhouses attacked, violent auras surged in the blood cloud. Tyrannical roars resounded throughout the battlefield. Yin Yin had just neutralized the attacks that were about to land on the crowd when she heard the roars from the blood cloud. Her expression changed slightly when she sensed the powerful aura. What a powerful aura! Beside Yin Yin, the powerhouses with 7 apertures and above also looked serious. There are high-tier blood fiends and blood ghosts inside. It's our turn to attack. While they were talking, streaks of blood-colored flowing light surged and shot out from the blood cloud toward the wall of blood. Oomph! Yin Yin snorted coldly. Her body rose into the air, and a green storm circulated around her body. She waved the long sword in her hand, and countless wind blades shot toward a blood-colored spear. Boom, boom, boom. Explosions sounded, and the aftershocks wreaked havoc. At the same time that Yin Yin rose into the air, the other powerful adventurers and desolate blood army also rose into the air and blocked all the attacks. Powerful blood fiends also flew out from the blood cloud. Wisps of blood mist circulated around their bodies. Their auras were tyrannical, and their eyes flashed with a bloody light. The two sides collided at the first moment. Attacks were launched from the hands of the experts from both sides. In the sky, there were hundreds of experts constantly flashing. Every time they collided, there would be a roar that reverberated through the heavens and earth. The shockwaves fell from the sky and landed in the blood tide. Many weak blood ghosts and blood fiends were killed by the shockwaves. At the same time, some of the shockwaves also landed on the blood wall, causing damage to the desolate blood army and adventurers. Mo Shao Bai blocked in front of Yin Shui, the heavy sword in his hand flashing with a golden light. Heavenly Wasteland Extinction Breath slash. It shattered a bloody aftershock. Mo Shao Bai rubbed his numb hands, his heart trembling. Even though they were thousands of meters away, the aftershock still had a powerful destructive force. Was this the power of body fundamentalists and blood beasts above 7 apertures? He was much stronger than he had imagined. The high-level blood fiends and blood ghosts have been blocked by the strong ones. Everyone continued to kill the blood ghosts and blood fiends. The commander went to fend off the high-level vampires and blood fiends and continued to issue orders. Get into formation again. Defenders block the shockwaves and attacks. Long-range professions attack. Don't stop the origin cannons. Kill them all. Hearing the commander's roar, the originally chaotic formation was restored. After the high-level experts of the Desolate Blood Army and adventurers were blocked by the high-level blood ghosts and blood fiends, the level 5 and level 6 flying blood ghosts and blood fiends broke through the attack and rushed toward the blood wall. The flying beasts did not need to face the wall, so they were faster. In a short time, they rushed up the wall. Close combat. Block these beasts for me. The commanders of the Desolate Blood Army roared. At the same time, they attacked and killed the blood ghosts and blood fiends. Roar! A blood fiend with a bird's head and a tiger's head covered in blood-red feathers roared and rushed toward the wall where Mo Xiaobai was at. The thick smell of blood was suffocating. The powerful aura of a Peak 6 Apertures expert made most of the people present stop breathing and turn pale. Everyone's expression changed. It's a Peak 6 Apertures leader tier blood tiger condor. Block it. Just as the 6 Apertures experts were about to attack with all their might, a figure wearing blood armor flashed past. Mo Xiaobai appeared in front of the blood tiger condor. Seeing this scene, everyone's face turned pale. Xiaobai, get out of the way. Little brother Mo, this is a Peak 6 Apertures leader. Get out of the way. They knew that Mo Xiaobai was very strong and had a vast amount of origin force. However, no matter how much origin force he had, he still could not defeat an opponent he could not defeat. This was a Peak 6 Apertures leader that had been strengthened by the blood mist. Even some low-level 7 Apertures leader-level beasts might not be a match for it, right? Mo Xiaobai was only at 4 Apertures. No matter how strong he was, it was impossible for him to win against this guy. Even Yin Shui's face turned pale when she saw Mo Xiaobai rush up. Mo Xiaobai looked at the charging blood tiger condor and smelled the thick stench of blood. His expression was calm. In the past, he might not even be able to defeat a level 4 or 5-6 Apertures leader, let alone a Peak 6 Apertures leader. Not to mention one that had been strengthened by the blood mist. But things were different now. Origin force circulated all over his body, and archaic will fluctuated. A bloody light flashed in his eyes. Blood origin battle physique, blood control. The next moment, the blood tiger condor's fierce expression suddenly froze. The blood energy in its body became chaotic and weakened. It opened its mouth and coughed up large mouthfuls of blood. Heavily injured. What? Everyone who saw this scene opened their eyes wide, their faces filled with disbelief. Before everyone could come back to their senses. Roar! The blood tiger condor let out a furious roar. The injury did not make the powerful blood tiger condor retreat. On the contrary, it made it even more savage. Bloody light circulated all over its body. Ignoring the pain in its body, a bloody ball of light appeared in its mouth. Legendary origin skill, Blood Tiger Sky Roar. Mo Xiaobai stepped onto the blood wall's battlements, his expression unchanged. The light of Akatsuki in his right hand was wrapped in a golden light as he swung it at the blood tiger condor. At the same time, the fingers of his left hand pointed at the blood tiger condor. A giant void sword array appeared above the blood tiger condor's head. A violent and sharp sword intent surged out. Boom! The bloody ball of light and the golden sword light collided, both sides exploding at the same time. The heavily injured blood tiger condor's ultimate origin skill was greatly weakened. Even the desolate sky annihilation slash could not shatter it. At the same time, streaks of void sword light shot out from the sword array. The blood tiger condor felt the sharp sword intent and flapped its wings in an attempt to dodge. Mo Xiaobai's origin power and consciousness surged once more. Blood control. The blood tiger condor's body froze in place. The blood energy in its body became even more chaotic, and it spat out another mouthful of blood. The moment he paused, the silver sword light of the void surrounded him. Roar! Miserable roars could be heard from his sword radiance. A moment later, the roars disappeared, and the sword light dissipated. The blood tiger condor's battered corpse fell from the sky to the bottom of the city wall. On the blood wall, everyone's eyes were wide open as they watched the blood tiger condor's corpse slowly fall to the ground. They were in disbelief. Dead? The blood tiger condor, a peak 6 apertures commander-level blood beast, was actually dead. It died at the hands of a 4 apertures level 2 guy. Chapter 275. This scene was too surreal, causing everyone's minds to go blank. Even though they were on the battlefield, they couldn't help but stare blankly. Mo Xiaobai exhaled and calmed down the surging origin power in his body due to the sudden burst of power. He waved his hand, and a strand of thick blood energy was drawn out of the bloody tiger condor's corpse. After absorbing this strand of blood energy, his blood origin battle body improved by a large margin. However, it would still take some time before he could break through to the 5th stage. Roar, roar, roar. Boom, 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 boom. In the distance, a series of roars could be heard. In the sky, the roars didn't stop at all. Only then did the people who were stunned come back to their senses. This was a battlefield. Everyone began to resist the blood tide again. Mo Xiaobai also returned to Yin Shui's side. Yin Shui looked at Mo Xiaobai with a worried expression. Xiaobai, are you okay? Mo Xiaobai shook his head. I'm fine. Don't worry. Yin Shui couldn't help but complain. You scared me to death when you suddenly rushed out. Mo Xiaobai heard this and laughed. I'm so strong. How could anything happen to me? But are you worried about me? Yin Shui blushed and glared at him. Who's worried about you? She didn't look at Mo Xiaobai anymore and turned to continue attacking. In the sky, 5th and 6th stage blood ghosts and blood fiends charged through the origin power attacks and tore the blood wall. All of the desolate blood soldiers and adventurers stepped forward to defend against these blood ghosts and blood beasts. The blood ghosts and blood fiends, strengthened by the blood fog, were extremely powerful. The desolate blood soldiers and adventurers began to suffer casualties. Naturally, there were many powerful blood ghosts and blood fiends charging toward the city wall where Mo Xiaobai was at. Mo Xiaobai, Yin Shui, the experts of the Yin clan, and the powerful desolate blood army worked together to kill the blood ghosts and blood beasts. However, what was different from the other areas was that under Mo Xiaobai's blood control, the rank 5 blood ghosts and blood beasts were on the verge of death almost instantly. Even the 6 apertures blood ghost and blood beast were greatly weakened. Compared to other areas, the casualties were almost negligible. As waves of blood fiends and blood ghosts died, Mo Xiaobai's blood origin battle body improved rapidly. Screech! After a long time, a sharp scream came from the sky. A huge blood condor descended from the sky, and its blood dyed the sky red. The 7th rank blood eagle was dead. In the air, cracks appeared on Yin Yin's armor, and blood gushed out. Her face was slightly pale, and her breathing was rapid. After taking a few breaths, Yin Yin didn't rest. She took out a bottle of Nature's Embrace and a bottle of Origin River. After drinking it, she adjusted her breathing slightly and went to the other battlefields to help. On the blood wall, Mo Xiaobai looked at the blood eagle's corpse falling slowly, and a trace of joy flashed across his eyes. A 7th rank blood eagle. I wonder how strong the power of blood is. He activated his blood origin battle body, and wisps of blood power gushed out from the blood eagle's body. It was denser than all the blood ghosts and blood beasts. It rushed toward Mo Xiaobai. After absorbing the blood eagle's power of blood, a blood-red glow appeared on Mo Xiaobai's body again. The blood in his body became more condensed, and his internal organs and body improved greatly. Blood origin battle body, level 5. After a while, the blood-red glow in his body recovered. Mo Xiaobai looked up at the dozens of blood ghosts and blood beasts rushing toward him, and a blood-red light flashed across his eyes. He seemed to see the power of blood surging and roaring within these blood ghosts and blood ghosts. Blood control. All the power of blood was in chaos. Boom! The fifth-rank blood ghosts and blood beasts exploded in the air, turning into a bloody mist. The sixth-rank blood ghosts and blood beasts also had hideous wounds all over their bodies, and they couldn't even fly. They fell heavily from the sky. Their auras also became very weak. The Desolate Blood Army and Yin family experts who were about to attack were stunned. Then, they all looked in Mo Xiaobai's direction with numb faces. Mo Xiaobai had already given them too much shock today. Now, even if Mo Xiaobai killed a ninth-rank blood ghost and blood beast in front of them, they wouldn't be surprised at all. Mo Xiaobai glanced at the blood tide below, which was approaching the blood wall, and said, "Leave the blood ghosts and blood beasts in the sky to me. You guys deal with the blood tide below." Not far away, the commander wiped the blood off his face and roared, "Brothers, do you hear me? Leave the blood ghosts and blood beasts in the sky to Mr. Mo Xiaobai. Beat the hell out of those below the wall." "Yes." The Desolate Blood Army roared excitedly. Mo Xiaobai used his own strength to block the blood beasts and blood ghosts in the sky. This allowed them to minimize their losses. They knew that their brother who lived with them day and night wouldn't die in front of them. They were extremely excited. On the wall of the Desolate Blood City, Yin Shi looked at the blood ghosts and blood beasts in the sky with a frown. Something's not right. Beside Yin Shi stood Xu Fa and a few other Desolate Blood Army experts. They were also frowning and puzzled. Something's not right. Under normal circumstances, the blood ghosts and blood beasts from the Blood Ghost Cave should have come out too, but none of the four blood suns have appeared. These blood ghosts and blood beasts attack without any pattern. It's as if they're attacking based on their instincts. What's going on? As the higher-ups of the Desolate Blood Army, they had experienced the blood tide several times, but they had never seen a situation like this. The blood ghosts from the Blood Ghost Cave didn't appear to command the blood tide. This was the first time. Could it be that they're hiding in the dark? Or they didn't come at all? Everyone voiced their thoughts. Yin Shi looked at the blood clouds in the sky and then at the blood tide below with a frown. After a moment of silence, he slowly opened his mouth and said, "Captain Yin, Captain Kong, Captain Yu, go and help deal with the blood tide. The rest of you, stay alert and pay attention to any sneak attacks from the Blood Ghost Cave." "Yes, sir." Everyone's expression froze. Then a few experts charged into the sky. Some charged towards the blood clouds in the sky, while others charged towards the blood tide below. Boom, boom, boom. Violent origin power surged out of their bodies as powerful origin skills swept across the battlefield. Every attack killed a large number of blood ghosts and blood beasts. Even the rank 7 blood beasts found it difficult to withstand their attacks. All of them were injured and sent flying while spewing blood. The attacks were too powerful. Everyone raised their heads and looked in the direction of the battlefield. After seeing the powerful attacks from the higher-ups of the Desolate Blood Army, their faces were filled with excitement. It's the captains. If they take action, these blood ghosts and blood beasts won't be a problem. However, many experts were stunned when they saw the captains take action. They frowned. The captains have taken action. What about the experts from the Blood Ghost Cave? Chapter 276. As the 8 Aperture Commander attacked, blood ghosts and blood fiends died in droves. The pressure on the Desolate Blood Army and adventurers on the Blood Wall was greatly reduced, and their casualties were greatly reduced. After the commander of the Desolate Blood Army joined the battle, the number of blood ghosts and blood fiends decreased. Within a few hours, the Blood Wall was covered with corpses. The blood tide was nearing its end. On the city wall of the Desolate Blood City, Yin Shi and the others were still vigilant in the direction of the bloody wilderness. However, the number of blood ghosts and blood fiends decreased, and the powerhouses of the Blood Ghost Cave still hadn't appeared. Yin Shi frowned and looked at the depths of the bloody wilderness surrounded by blood mist. His eyes flickered slightly. What are the mother of blood ghosts and the powerhouses of the Blood Ghost Cave doing? Ing Shuefei looked at the few blood ghosts and blood fiends that were still alive and said, "Isn't it better that the powerhouses of the Blood Ghost Cave didn't appear? With so many blood ghosts and blood fiends dead, there won't be a blood tide in the bloody wilderness for a while." The other experts nodded in agreement. If it were any other time, I wouldn't be worried. Yin Shi was still looking at the depths of the bloody wilderness. But there's still a blood king in the bloody wilderness. Hearing Yin Shi's words, the others' expressions changed slightly as they thought of this. After a moment of silence, Yin Shi said, "Since the blood tide is over, I'll go to the blood fog." Everyone's expression changed drastically when they heard Yin Shi's words. "General, you go to the depths of the bloody wilderness yourself?" "No. What if there's something dangerous inside?" "Yeah, it's too dangerous for you to go to the depths of the bloody wilderness yourself." Even Ing Shuefei couldn't help but persuade him. Despite everyone's persuasion, Yin Shi didn't change his mind. "I have a feeling that there might be a drastic change in the bloody wilderness. The blood fog might be the reason. I have to go there." Seeing Yin Shi's determined expression, Ing Shuefei said, "Then I'll go with you." The other desolate blood soldiers also looked at each other. "If you want to go, we'll naturally follow you." When Yin Shi heard their words, he thought for a moment. "Commander Yang, Commander Liu, Commander Shui, you guys come with me." Ing Shuefei's eyes widened as a trace of anger flashed in them. "What about me?" Yin Shi didn't allow her to go to such a dangerous place. Yin Shi glanced at Ing Shuefei and slowly said, "Although the blood tide has ended, the situation inside the bloody wilderness is still uncertain. Perhaps they still have some tricks up their sleeves. You are the strongest expert aside from me. Without me, you need to guard the bloody wilderness." After hearing Yin Shi's explanation, Ing Shuefei was somewhat unwilling to accept it. However, after a moment of silence, she nodded. Yin Shi was right. If Yin Shi wasn't here, and she wasn't here either, the desolate blood army would be in danger if some powerful cultivator came. Yin Shi breathed a sigh of relief when he saw that Ing Shuefei had agreed. "Let's go." With that, he soared into the air and flew towards the depths of the bloody wilderness. Behind him, several commanders of the desolate blood army followed suit. Chi, the infinite wasteland extinction breath slash, flashed across the sky, streaking across the body of a huge blood condor. The blood condor's body split apart. Blood gushed out, and the corpse slowly fell to the ground. Mo Xiaobai exhaled and looked around. At this moment, hundreds of meters below the city wall had been completely filled with corpses. The height of the corpses was even higher than the blood wall. The thick smell of blood was extremely pungent and nauseating. The blood wall was also filled with corpses. Some belonged to the desolate blood army, while others belonged to the blood beasts and blood ghosts. Mo Xiaobai heard the painful groans of the desolate blood army. He looked over. Behind the city wall, some injured desolate blood army soldiers were being treated by healers. Many of them were missing arms and legs, and their injuries were very serious. The commander held a heavy sword in his hand, and his body was covered in blood. He looked around and saw that the ground was filled with corpses. There were no living blood ghosts or blood beasts. His mind relaxed, and his body swayed. He almost fell to the ground. He hurriedly used his long sword to support himself on the ground to maintain his balance. He took a deep breath and then roared with all his strength. "Brothers, we won." Hearing the commander's roar, the desolate blood army experts and adventurers who were still in a daze came back to their senses. They looked around, and then their faces were filled with excitement. "We won. We stopped the blood tide. The blood wall didn't break. We won. Ergo, wake up. Ergo, we've won. Get up now. Little blossom, don't die. We won, don't die." Some were happy, and some were sad. Mo Xiaobai sighed and turned to look at Yin Shui. At this moment, Yin Shui's face was extremely pale. Her ice crystal armor was full of cracks, and her body was covered in blood. Some of it was hers, and some of it was the enemy's. Her breathing was also weak. Sensing Mo Xiaobai's gaze, she also raised her head and looked over. The two of them looked at each other. Mo Xiaobai smiled and gently wiped away the blood on her face. Are you okay? Yin Shue's fair face flushed, but she didn't slap Mo Xiao Bai's hand away. She nodded gently. Yes, I'm a little injured. It's not serious, but I've used up a lot of energy. Mo Xiao Bai nodded, took out a bottle of flawless force medicine, and handed it to Yin Shui. You'll feel better after drinking it. Yin Shui nodded gently, took the medicine, and drank it. Then, she looked at the many desolate blood soldiers holding the bodies of their comrades, and a trace of sadness flashed across her ice-blue eyes. A lot of people died. Mo Xiao Bai nodded silently. Yes, there were countless blood ghosts and blood beasts, and some of them were even stronger than those of the same level. They didn't even break the blood wall, and only a small number of desolate blood soldiers were sacrificed. This was already very good. There was always danger in resisting the blood tide. How could there be no deaths on the battlefield? Even if he gave it his all, he couldn't stop the blood tide by himself. After all, he was only at level 2 of 4 apertures. At this moment, 2 streams of light quickly approached. Xiaobai, little Shui. Xiaobai, little Shui, are you guys all right? The 2 streams of light stopped beside Mo Xiaobai and Yin Shui. They were Su Yin and Natsu Qi. Su Yin's armor was also full of cracks and wounds. Natsu Qi's robe only had a few traces of blood, but her face was a little pale. Mo Xiaobai also heaved a sigh of relief when he saw the 2 of them. He smiled and shook his head. We're fine. How about you guys? Are you okay? Of course we're fine. Su Yin smiled. But these blood ghosts and blood beasts are really strong. They're much stronger than those of the same level. Natsu Qi nodded lightly. Indeed, this blood tide is much stronger than before. Her gaze swept across the battlefield, and a trace of sadness appeared. HM, little Shui, why is your face so red? Suddenly, Su Yin looked at Yin Shui with a puzzled expression. Chapter 277. Mo Xiaobai and Yin Shui both froze. Yin Shui blinked. Really? Maybe he's injured. Mo Xiaobai remained expressionless, playing dead. Su Yin's gaze shifted between the 2 of them. She narrowed her eyes and revealed a strange smile. Are we disturbing you? No way. Yin Shui's pretty face turned even redder. She couldn't help but yell. Mo Xiaobai, young miss, aren't you just showing off what you're trying to hide? Su Yin and Natsu Qi both narrowed their eyes and turned to look at Mo Xiaobai. Mo Xiaobai felt his scalp go numb from their gazes. Ahem, I'll go cultivate first. As he spoke, he began to absorb the blood energy from the blood ghosts and blood beast corpses. Slip away, slip away. Su Yin and Natsu Qi's eyes flashed with surprise as they watched Mo Xiaobai absorb the blood energy from the blood ghosts and blood beast corpses. What kind of origin skill is this? Su Yin's eyes widened. Before this, Mo Xiaobai didn't know this origin skill. Yin Shui said softly. Xiaobai said it's a body-tempering origin skill. Natsu Qi revealed a trace of a smile. His power has grown even stronger, Yi Zichen said. If this continues, this guy's physical strength will soon be comparable to mine. Su Yin was speechless. She had opened 6 apertures. Moreover, she had cultivated an epic-grade body-tempering origin skill, Dark Flame Body. Mo Xiaobai was immersed in his cultivation. There was too much blood energy. This much blood energy was enough to raise his blood origin battle body by another level. Not long after, strands of blood-colored light flickered on his body. His physical strength had increased by another level. 5th level blood origin battle body. Continue. Mo Xiaobai was pleasantly surprised as he continued to cultivate. While Mo Xiaobai was absorbing the power of the blood, a faint red blood mist was circulating above the blood ghost corpse. Wisps of blood mist left the corpses of the blood ghosts and blood beasts, fusing with the pile of corpses and moving into the distance. At this moment, a powerful suction force came from afar. Before the blood mist could leave, it was absorbed into Mo Xiaobai's body. Isn't this wave of blood power pretty good? Mo Xiaobai absorbed the power of the blood, including the blood mist. He felt that his blood origin battle body had improved a lot, which made him feel a little happy. Immediately, he absorbed even more happily, deep in the bloody wilderness, outside the guardian ruins. Boom! The roar resounded through the blood mist, and the aftershock surged within the blood mist. The blood mist surged, but the aftershocks didn't spread far before calming down. In the air, Xinsha, Meng Shi, Meng Ding, Yin Di, and the other experts collided. Blood fell from the sky. Boom! After another collision, Xinsha, Yin Di, and the other experts of the Blood Ghost Cave all retreated a certain distance. At this moment, there were many wounds on their bodies, and blood was gushing out. In the time it took for them to breathe, their wounds wriggling and recovering quickly. However, their origin power hadn't recovered so quickly, and their auras were somewhat weak. On the other hand, although Meng Shi and the others also had many wounds, their auras also recovered quickly after their wounds healed. Xinsha's expression was ugly. How is this possible? How can your origin power recover so quickly? The Blood King looked at Xinsha, and a smile appeared on his cold face. Give up. I am the Blood King, the master of the bloody wilderness. How can you be my match? Xinsha's expression turned even uglier. At this moment, she thought of something, and her expression changed slightly. She looked up at the guardian ruins behind the Blood King. You tampered with the ruins? Tampered with? The Blood King paused for a moment, then threw his head back and laughed loudly. Ha 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 ha! No. You don't understand what true power is like. A hint of fanaticism appeared on the Blood King's cold face. Seeing the fanaticism on the Blood King's face, Xinsha frowned and felt a chill in her heart. She glanced at the area where the blood mist was gushing out with a heavy heart. What was in there? Meng Shi's expression made her extremely uneasy. Enough nonsense. Submit to me, or I'll grant you death. Meng Shi stopped smiling and looked coldly at Xinsha. Don't even think about it. Xinsha's expression was cold. Then die. Meng Shi and the others attacked Xinsha and the others. The blood mist surged as Meng Shi and the others moved, their wild and violent auras surging. Xinsha blocked Meng Shi's attack, and her body floated back. Retreat outside the blood mist. Hearing Xinsha's words, Yundi and the other Blood Sons, as well as the experts of the Blood Wraith Cave, were all startled. Mother, outside the blood mist is beyond the core area of the bloody wilderness. I'm afraid we'll be discovered by the desolate Blood Army. One of the Blood Sons, Nether Eyes was she, who had 4 eyes on his face and 2 long swords in his hands, brandished the long sword in his hand. Streaks of incomparably sharp, blood-colored sword light swept out, repelling the group of Blood Wolf cavalry experts. At the same time, he spoke to Xinsha. The other 3 Blood Sons and the experts of the Blood Wraith Cave couldn't help but look at Xinsha. Their eyes were filled with worry. The Blood King was already so difficult to deal with. If the desolate Blood Army joined in, they would be in trouble. Xinsha's blood-red eyes flashed with intelligence, and a smile appeared on her seductive face. That's why we're luring the desolate Blood Army here. Compared to us, isn't the Blood King a greater threat to them? Hearing Xinsha's words, Yundi and the others widened their eyes. Mother, you mean to ally with the desolate Blood Army? Retreat first. Xinsha and the experts of the Blood Wraith Cave retreated as they retreated outside the blood mist. Seeing this, the Blood King's expression was cold. You want to run? You can't escape. Surround them. The Blood King waved the blood-red scepter in his hand. The Blood Wolf cavalry surrounded Xinsha and the others. Xinsha's expression changed slightly, revealing a cold glint. Charge out. Boom, 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 boom. The sound of collisions rang out continuously. Yin Qi and the commanders of the desolate Blood Army entered the blood mist. As soon as they entered the blood mist, they all frowned. The commander of the scout team, who had already entered the blood mist, spoke. This blood mist can affect perception and vision. Yin Qi frowned, looked around, and took out a heavy sword that was shrouded in dark blue, icy mist. Stay alert. Yes, the commanders of the desolate Blood Army were fully armed, and their expressions were grave. There are no vampires or blood beasts. I'm sure most of the vampires and blood beasts from the Blood Tide have left. A barbarian man, standing at the front with a heavy shield in his hand, spoke. The others also nodded. Boom, 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 boom. Just as they were about to speak, a series of explosions rang out in the distance. Everyone's expression changed, and they looked warily in the direction of the sounds of battle. Chapter 278. What's that over there? Let's go take a look. Yin Qi led the group of captains in the direction of the sound. Soon, they realized that the battle was closer than they had imagined. However, because their perception range was smaller, they could only hear it when they were closer. What a powerful aura! Sensing the battle in the distance, Yin Qi and the others frowned. Sacred realms? 2. Yin Qi took a deep breath, his expression grave. General, I'm afraid it's the mother of blood demons and the Blood King. MHM. Yin Qi nodded. But they're fighting among themselves? The captains looked at each other. If the 2 sacred realms attacked the desolate Blood City during the Blood Tide, they would be in deep trouble. They didn't expect them to fight among themselves. They seem to be coming toward us. Yin Qi and the others sensed the direction they were moving toward, and their expressions changed. If they get out of the bloody moor, their eyes flashed. Yin Qi clenched his teeth. Let's wait and see. They landed and hid behind a rock, watching the battle. Oomph. Shinsha, you can't run away. Either you submit to me, or you die. Ha! I hope you can still say that after we get out of the blood fog. 2 voices sounded and entered Yin Qi and the others' ears. Finally, a group of captains quickly approached from the sky. Yin Qi and the others recognized one of them, including the mother of blood demons, Shinsha, the son of blood, and some captains from the Blood Demon Cave. They were in a sorry state, covered in wounds, and their auras were weak. Yin Qi and the others had never seen a force chasing after them. The leader was a rabbit man wearing a blood-colored crown, a blood-colored scepter, and a blood-colored robe. Beside him was a group of rabbit man cavalry riding Blood Wolf. They were extremely powerful. Blood King. Yin Qi looked at the crowned rabbit man and narrowed his eyes. This was probably the Blood King. The captains of the Blood Demon Cave are no match for the Blood King. Everyone was a little shocked. General, what should we do? The captains of the Desolate Blood Army looked at Yin Qi. Yin Qi looked at the battlefield and slowly said, Let's wait and see how they're doing. While they were speaking, Shansha and the others were once again surrounded by the Rabbit Men cavalry. The battle began again. Soon, Yin Qi and the others, who were observing from afar, noticed that something was wrong. They all frowned and looked at the Blood King and the others solemnly. General, there's something wrong with the Blood King and the Rabbit Men cavalry. That's right. After fighting for so long, it's understandable for them to recover quickly. But why hasn't their origin power been depleted? No wonder the experts of the Bloody Demon Cave were no match for him. In terms of combat power, the Blood Ghost Cave had the Blood Ghost Mother for Blood Sons and a group of Blood Ghost experts. They were definitely not weak. He might even be stronger than the Blood King. But in the face of the Blood King's group's boundless origin power, there were naturally no match for him in a drawn-out battle. Yin Qi's expression was grave as he looked in the direction of the battlefield. His eyes flashed. Boom! Meng Shi waved the scepter in his hand. Origin power surged, and the power of blood transformed into a ferocious blood wolf that pounced at Shinsha. Roar, roar, roar. The powerful blood wolf's aura surged. Shinsha's expression was grave as strands of blood power circulated around her hands. Blood thorns condensed in the air and wrapped around the blood wolf. After the two collided, the shock waves wreaked havoc. A portion of the blood wolf was crushed by the blood thorns. The remaining blood wolf tore apart the blood thorns and charged at Shinsha. Boom, boom, boom. With a loud boom, Shinsha's body flew backward, a trail of blood flowing from the corner of her mouth. Her aura was even weaker than before. Oomph. I'll say it one last time. Submit to me. The Blood King looked coldly at Shinsha. As he spoke, he turned to look at the experts of the Blood Ghost Cave. The same goes for all of you. Submit to me. I will bestow upon you even greater power. In the distance, Yin Qi and the others saw this scene, and their expressions changed slightly. No, we can't let the Blood King absorb the Blood Ghost Cave's power. If the Blood Ghost Cave and the Blood King work together, they'll be a great threat to the desolate Blood City. Yin Qi frowned, a trace of sharpness flashing through his eyes. Go and help them. The other captains also nodded. Yes, sir. As he spoke, a dark blue, icy mist appeared around Yin Qi's body. His body disappeared as he charged at the Blood King. Legendary origin skill, Frost Cell Charge. The dark blue, icy mist streaked through the bloody mist in a straight line, seemingly freezing it. Yin Qi appeared beside the Blood King, the deathly blue, icy mist continuing to charge at the Blood King. At the same time, a deathly blue, icy mist began to circulate around Yin Qi's heavy sword. Holy skill, Deathly Ice Frost Slash. The dark blue, icy slash slashed at the Blood King's head. The Blood King had already felt a great threat when Yin Qi charged at him. He growled, and the blood scepter in his hand began to glow with a bloody light. Holy skill, Blood Vortex. A giant vortex enveloped the Blood King. Frost Cell Charge and Deathly Ice Frost Slash slammed into the vortex. Boom! A loud boom rang out. The vortex shattered, exploding into a bloody mist. The aftershocks wreaked havoc. Yin Qi retreated, avoiding the aftershocks. The Blood King had already disappeared from within the vortex. Yin Qi's expression changed, but he didn't have time to say anything. Before he could say anything, he sensed the thick scent of blood behind him. He turned around and saw a bloody spear shooting at him. Oomph! Yin Qi tore the bloody spear apart. The Blood King didn't continue to attack. Instead, he looked at Yin Qi, a smile appearing on his cold face. Holy Realm, Blood Baron City's guards? Just in time. You saved me some effort. Hearing the Blood King's words, Yin Qi frowned and became vigilant. What did he mean? Yin Qi's attacks gave Xinsha and the others a chance to catch their breath. Xinsha slowly recovered from her injuries. She came to a certain distance away from Yin Qi and the Blood King. She had a gentle smile on her face, but the next moment, she looked pitiful. General Yin Qi, are you here to save me? Yin Qi's expression didn't change at all. He snorted, Mother of Blood Devils, we've known each other for a long time. Your tricks are useless against me. Put them away. Xinsha still looked pitiful. General Yin Qi, you're really heartless. You've already saved us. I just think that the Blood King is more dangerous than you. Yin Qi spoke indifferently, but his eyes were fixed on the Blood King. He was speaking the truth. One had to know that according to Meng Cheng, the Blood King had caused a huge disaster in ancient times. Compared to the Blood King, Xinsha was child's play. I can tell from your sorry state. Yin Qi glanced at Xinsha. Xinsha's expression froze when she heard Yin Qi's words. She turned to look in the Blood King's direction, her expression turning cold. General Yin Qi, this guy isn't ordinary. Be careful not to fail miserably at such an easy task. Yin Qi took a deep breath and didn't say anything. From the exchange, just now, he could sense that the Blood King wasn't any weaker than him. The most troublesome part was the boundless origin power. He had no way to deal with it. Xinsha smiled. General Yin Qi, you should have already observed us from the shadows, right? Mengshi's origin power recovers extremely quickly. You should know that, right? What method do you have? Yin Qi spoke slowly. The blood mist came from the ruins. It has something to do with their origin power recovery. We can't enter the Guardian ruins, so we'll have to rely on you. Yin Qi frowned, somewhat hesitant. He didn't know if Xinsha was telling the truth. Moreover, the ruins were in the depths of the bloody wilderness. Their desolate blood army didn't know anything about it. It was too dangerous to go in rashly. While Yin Qi was hesitating, the Blood King suddenly laughed loudly. Since the saints of the desolate blood army have appeared here, then there shouldn't be any experts at the defensive line in the bloody wilderness, right? If that's the case, then the defensive line can disappear. Hearing this, the expressions of Yin Qi, the desolate blood army's commander, Xinsha, and the others changed. What? Chapter 279. The Blood King sneered. Why would he only want to conquer Bloody Demon Cave? He also wanted to destroy the defense line outside Bloody Moor. After today, I, Blood King Mengshi, will rule Azure once again. The Blood King laughed and formed a hand seal. Blood-colored runes flowed. Seeing the powerful aura from the runes, Yin Shi and the others widened their eyes. Divinity? How is that possible? How could a saint-level expert have divinity? Everyone was shocked. That's why you don't know what true power is, the Blood King sneered. Blood-colored runes flowed and flashed as if they were responding to something. Go! He changed the seal in his hand and let out a low shout. A blood-colored light flew out of his hand and into the distance. That's the direction of Bloodymore City? Yin Shi and the others were shocked. What did you do? Heh, the Blood King smirked. Stop them. He didn't answer. Blood-colored runes flowed on his body. Finally, a pair of blood-colored bat wings appeared on his back. His aura surged. The bat wings on his back flapped, and he attacked Yin Shi. From today onward, the defense line in Bloody Moor will disappear. In Bloody Moor City, Mo Xiaobai was happily absorbing the power of the blood. For some reason, the power of the blood seemed to be getting denser. While Mo Xiaobai was thinking, blood-colored light flowed around him again. Boom! Blood Source War Body, level 6. His physical body had improved again. 7 times the physical strength. Mo Xiaobai clenched his fists and felt the power surging in his body. He smiled inwardly. It seemed that he could break through to level 8 or even level 9 today. In the distance, Su Yin, Natsu Ki, and Yin Shui were speechless when they saw the power of the blood surging in Mo Xiaobai's body. This guy is getting stronger again. Freak. Yeah. At this moment, Ing Shuifei appeared beside them. After seeing Ing Shuifei, Yin Shui smiled excitedly. Mom. Ing Shuifei stroked Yin Shui's head affectionately. She glanced at the blood on Yin Shui's body and the cracks on her armor, and a trace of pain flashed through her eyes. Shui, thank you for your hard work. Yin Shui shook her head slightly. With so many soldiers fighting a bloody battle, I naturally can't retreat. And Ing, Natsuki, and Suin also greeted him. Ing Shuifei looked at the two of them and showed a gentle smile. Little girls from the Mu clan and Su clan, thank you for taking care of Shui. Both of them smiled. Xiao Shui is our good sister. It's only right. Suin grinned. Ing Shuifei smiled and nodded. Then, she seemed to sense something and looked in the direction of Mo Xiaobai. Sensing the aura left behind by Mo Xiaobai after his breakthrough, she narrowed her eyes and a trace of shock flashed across her eyes. He became stronger again. It had only been a few hours when she saw this kid, but his strength had greatly improved again. It was incredible. Seeing Ing Shuifei staring at Mo Xiaobai in a daze, Yin Shui said, Mom, that's my classmate. His name is Mo Xiaobai. He's very strong. Just a classmate? Ing Shuifei came back to her senses and looked at Yin Shui teasingly. Yin Shui blushed. He's either a classmate or a friend. Ing Shuifei glanced at Yin Shui, then looked at Natsuki and Suin. She sighed her heart. My dear daughter, you can't compete with others like this. With Mo Xiaobai's talent, I'm afraid all the major clans will have ideas about him. The pavilion closest to the water enjoys the moonlight first. These 3 girls definitely have the best chance. I'll find a chance to remind this girl. Just as Ing Shuifei was thinking, she suddenly felt something. Her expression changed, and she looked up in the direction of the bloody wilderness. Seeing Ing Shuifei's expression change, Natsuki, Suin, and Yin Shui were all stunned and looked over as well. Under the bloody wall, the corpses on the ground suddenly flashed with streaks of bloody light. This strange movement attracted everyone's attention. What's wrong? What's this? Another enemy attack. Everyone looked at the streaks of bloody light in shock. This can't be Xiaobai's doing, right? Suin stared blankly for a moment, blinking her eyes. However, when she saw that Mo Xiaobai in the distance was also dumbfounded, her heart sank. Mo Xiaobai was absorbing the power of the blood, but for some reason, all the power of the blood seemed to be attracted by something. What's going on? Mo Xiaobai frowned slightly. He hadn't even absorbed a third of it. At this moment, streaks of bloody mist floated out from the corpses and flew into the distance. In the distance, a streak of bloody light was quickly approaching. The bloody light stopped in the air. It was a bloody ball of light. All the bloody mist flew toward the bloody ball of light and surrounded it. The powerful blood power almost formed a bloody storm. The corpses on the ground turned into ashes. The bloody storm swept the ashes into the air. The sky darkened. What's that? Everyone's eyes widened as they looked at the bloody mist slowly condensing in the air. Within the bloody mist, the aura became more and more oppressive. Everyone felt as if a huge rock was pressing down on their chests. Shufe frowned and said in a cold voice, "Everyone prepare for battle." The desolate blood army and adventurers who were resting stood up. Some of the heavily injured desolate blood army and adventurers had been moved into the city to recuperate. Shufe and the other commanders flew into the air and arrived outside the blood wall. They stared at the bloody mist in the distance. The bloody mist condensed into a bloody cocoon in the middle. The cocoon flashed with light, and the aura overflowed. A commander of the desolate blood army frowned. "Generaling, the thing inside seems unusual." Shufe also felt the aura from the bloody cocoon getting stronger and stronger. A longbow appeared in her hand, and she knocked an arrow. The arrow, condensed by the power of darkness, shot toward the bloody cocoon. However, when it got close to the bloody cocoon, it was worn down by the blood power. She frowned. Everyone attacked together. While they were chatting, Emo Xiaobai looked unhappily at the bloody mist being absorbed by the bloody cocoon. "What the F asterisk CK? That's the blood power I use for cultivation, okay? This guy's snatching it from me. Doesn't he know the principle of first come, first served?" He activated his blood origin battle body. Boom, boom, boom. Beams of blood power were attracted by Emo Xiaobai. The bloody cocoon's ability to absorb the blood power was much stronger than Emo Xiaobai's. Emo Xiaobai could only absorb the blood power around him. He frowned. Then, he looked at the bloody mist flying toward him from afar, and his eyes lit up. "This bloody cocoon doesn't seem to be able to move? Then I'll go somewhere else to absorb it." Chapter 280. Emo Xiaobai distanced himself from the blood cocoon and continued to absorb the blood energy. However, it paled in comparison to the blood cocoon. Soon, all the corpses in the bloody moor were reduced to ashes. The blood energy formed a river of blood that flowed into the blood cocoon. Crack, 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 boom. The blood cocoon cracked open, and a blood-red figure appeared in the blood mist. It was covered in blood-red scales, had a pair of goat horns, and had a pair of broken blood-red bat wings on its back. A chaotic evil aura wreaked havoc. Demon. Shufe and the others widened their eyes in shock. How could it be a demon? Isn't this something that flew out of the bloody moor? The chaotic evil aura caused many people to turn pale. They didn't expect a demon to appear. Not only them, but even Emo Xiaobai and the others, as well as all the desolate blood army and adventurers present, were stunned. The demon that suddenly appeared flapped its bat wings and took a deep breath. Ah, what a rich smell of blood. An intoxicated expression appeared on its ferocious face. At this moment, it suddenly sensed something, and its expression changed. Wait, he lowered his head and looked at his hands. His eyes widened in disbelief. How is this possible? My power? How could it be so weak? Where's my power? The blood energy in its body surged, and a blood-red light flashed in its eyes. Who is it? Who dares to steal my power? At this moment, the demon seemed to have sensed something. It suddenly turned its head and looked in Emo Xiaobai's direction. Such rich blood energy. It's you. Are you the one who stole my power? Everyone turned to look at Emo Xiaobai with a dumbfounded expression. Is that Emo Xiaobai? Is that Brother Xiaobai? What's wrong with him? I don't know. That demon seems to have a problem with him. Some of the people who knew Emo Xiaobai were confused. The demon in the air had clearly just appeared. Why was he looking at Emo Xiaobai as though he was looking at his father's murderer? Only a few people who saw Emo Xiaobai absorb the power of the blood vaguely understood something. Their expressions were a little strange. There was no doubt that Emo Xiaobai had absorbed a lot of blood energy. Is it because of this that this demon's strength isn't at its peak? When Mo Xiao Bai heard the demon's angry words, he immediately became unhappy. You're the one who stole my power. If it wasn't for you, I would have absorbed all of the blood energy. This guy actually dared to complain first? Mo Xiao Bai was instantly displeased. Although the lines of misfortune on this demon's body were black and purple, it was obvious that it was not to be trifled with. However, this was the Desolate Blood City, and Little Snow's father seemed to be a general of the Desolate Blood Army. Moreover, there were so many big shots around. Why would he be a coward? When the demon heard Mo Xiao Bai's words, his expression darkened. You stole my power and still dare to boast shamelessly. You're courting death. A huge blood-red sword with a barbed blade appeared in his hand. He waved the sword at Mo Xiao Bai, and a sharp blood-red sword light slashed at Mo Xiao Bai. At that moment, a black arrow collided with the blood-red sword light, creating a violent explosion. The blood-red demon glanced at Ing Fei, his expression somewhat grave. A half-sage? Damn it, it's all that bastard's fault for stealing my power. His original strength was at the saint level. In the end, the human bastard stole a portion of his power. His current strength was only at the half-sage level. That thief. The blood-red demon gritted his teeth, his eyes almost spitting fire. Ing Fei stood in front of Mo Xiao Bai, her eyes filled with coldness. She held her bow and looked at the blood-red demon. Demon, you actually dare to appear in the Desolate Blood City. You're the one courting death. She drew her bow, and a black arrow appeared on the bowstring. The other captains also had grave expressions as they surrounded the blood-red demon. Everyone felt a wave of relief in their hearts. Thank goodness. Thank goodness Mo Xiao Bai had absorbed a portion of the blood-red demon's power. Otherwise, wouldn't this blood-red demon have the strength of a saint level? If it was a saint level, they wouldn't be able to stop it. But now, haha, you think you can defeat me with just a half-sage and a bunch of trash? The blood-red demon sneered, and a blood-red light flashed in front of him. In the next moment, streaks of blood rushed out of his body and scattered in all directions. Legendary origin skill, Blood Shadow. Using the power of blood to condense blood shadows, his goal was to kill Mo Xiao Bai first. When Ing Fei saw this, her gaze turned cold. Attack! She pushed aside the arrow in her hand, and the pitch-black arrow instantly disappeared into the air after leaving the bowstring. The blood-red demon's expression changed, and he suddenly dodged to the side. At the same time, cracks appeared on his scales, and purple-black blood flowed out. Invisible arrow. The blood-red demon glanced at the wounds on his body, and his expression sank. The arrow was imbued with the element of darkness, and it was impossible to defend against it. Even he felt that it was somewhat troublesome. While Ing Fei was attacking the blood-red demon, the captains shattered all of the blood shadows. The blood-red demon glanced at them, his eyes narrowing. He looked at Ing Fei with a serious expression, and his injuries quickly healed. It seemed that he wouldn't be able to deal with that thief for a while. In the next moment, the captains of the Desolate Blood Legion used their powerful origin skills. Some wielded heavy swords and shields as they charged at the blood-red demon, while some earth elementalists increased their defenses and attacked the blood-red demon. A black veil appeared on Ing Fei's body, making her seem incomparably ethereal, as if she didn't exist in reality. Her figure drifted about, and every time she appeared, she would draw her bow. Numerous shadow arrows appeared in the air as soon as they left the bowstring. The blood-red demon's expression was fierce, and his entire body surged with power. Legendary origin skill, Infernal Blood Wheel. Streaks of blood-colored sword light surrounded the blood-red demon and shot out in all directions. They met the captains in all directions. Chi, chi, chi. Boom, 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 boom. Explosions rang out continuously, and the aftershocks wreaked havoc. The captains at the front spat out blood and were sent flying, their faces pale. Some of them were only at the 8 chakra level, while others were barely at the 9 chakra level. Against a half-saint, even if they had various enhancements and used their own trump cards, they still wouldn't be a match. However, their goal was only to block the blood-red demon's attack with a lamp bead. After the aftershocks dissipated, the blood-red demon had many wounds on his body. A hint of brutality flashed through the blood-red demon's eyes as he stared at Shuefe in the distance. All the wounds on his body were caused by this half-saint elf. He had to think of a way to kill this elf first. As long as he could get close,